listening to the Legendary Wrestling Obsession podcast with your hosts, Corey Draper and Jeff Hughes.
Well, the Busters didn't know what happened to him there. My word, Anderson can't believe that he's beside himself with anger. And Tully Blanchard is beside himself, almost unconscious.
Good down home cheating. Good down home cheating. Sure.
Welcome to another week of the Legendary Wrestling Obsession podcast. I'm Corey Draper here with Jeff Hughes.
It's true, and it is frosty, frozen, frigid, just like a proper Winnipeg winter ought to be. Not that we're happy about it, but we are somewhat... No. However, a sense of calm has also enveloped the city because we were all getting a little nervous at this, slushy weather when we were used to like frozen, because we're over 50, so we remember 50 below.
That's right.
I mean, when you add up the wind chills, we get these temperatures that are they're definitely lethal, and you're going to lose body parts, and we don't mess around up here. Minnesota, you guys will know what it's like, and I mean anywhere, any similar parallel will understand, except for the West Coast won't get it the way that anyway, that's just to keep you a little bit up to date. With the roads really slippery today. Like I drove and like, wow, skating rink. Oh my goodness.
It's funny. I keep an eye on the downloads and listens and where they are in the world, and it's neat when new countries or new places pop up. And one thing I saw was a big uptick in the last 2 weeks of like listens from Mexico. But I started thinking about it. I'm like, maybe it was just people on vacation.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we got some American, Canadian, whatever fans that are like just down in Mexico for vacation, as opposed to New Mexican fans. I mean, we love New Mexican fans, but
or maybe fans from New Mexico. That's a state,
of course, yes,
as well.
That's not what I meant, but yeah.
Yes, but I've got since you bring it up, something about the masked wrestler gives me thoughts about Mexico, and I've always enjoyed that because now you're into some of the comic book nerd fantasy, like Spider-Man. Like I remember there was a guy who dressed like Spider-Man, Arachnid or something.
Yeah, Arachnaman.
Arachnaman.
Yes.
So, Vern Gagne was not the bring comic books into wrestling, but Vince McMahon brought the comic books into wrestling.
That was a WCW guy, but that was...
Still, my point. We talk about like the Olympic sport aspect of certain promoters.
Yeah.
And then the, kid-friendly costume characters and such of other areas.
Yep. Brad Armstrong, that was Arachnaman.
Right. Okay. So the mask is a nice midway, where you have the fun and the mystery, the pageantry, the theatrics of like hidden identity, and it's time honored. So Vern could allow a masked wrestler and some of that silliness and just another aspect, the theatrics that are beyond simply like athletic grace and skill and the drama of sports. But so. Hats off to sombreros off to Mexico and the magic that they bring with mask wrestlers, and also the masks look cool.
Right, yeah.
Sequins or skulls or, so I guess, So I kind of wish we'd got more of that in the AWA. But to be honest, I didn't really get a lot of AWA compared to Corey. Do you remember any masked wrestlers?
Well, there's the Destroyers. Which
in the AWA when you were young?
For sure. And as we talked about in Starcade.
I did not remember
Super
this.
Destroyer made a little appearance. But the Destroyers, which would not be Bill Eadie, that's like more like one of those would have been Sergeant Slaughter, and the other one, I don't remember who he was. But I mean, there was different guys. We even looked up the name of one of them. We didn't recognize them. We were like, who's that again?
There you go.
Because Lord Alfred Hayes was involved with managing them, and I think Keenan was. And
wow,
so those are the first ones I can think of. Dr. X. So like in the AWA for a long time, there was like way before I was watching. I think this is like a 60s wrestler, like Dr. X.
Yeah, he was on the card with the cigarette burns and the jacket. Remember that story? But the Winnipeg audit.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Jim Friesen, beloved family friend, he mentioned a Mr. or Dr. X.
Dr. X,
on the card.
Right.
With Whipper Billy Watson.
Sure,
and the old man who burnt cigarette holes.
Pissed off at the kids in front of him.
Yeah, cheeky bastards. You lousy.
And I'm sure there was other ones. They're not popping into my head at the moment. But,
fair enough.
There was certainly no shortage of masked wrestlers and
Mil Mascaras was in the magazines, and so he seemed to be top dog of Mexico from our magazine days.
Yeah, and whatever whatever federations he would pop into, because he wrestled in a lot of the different territories. And yeah, he was definitely famous, even though more for us from magazines and still images, photos, as opposed to watching actual matches. Here we are. It's the other side of WrestleMania 3, and we're getting ready, finally. It's here, Saturday night's main event.
Well, we dragged that out, didn't we? I think
that's right. Yeah, that's right. So the Frank Tunney Senior Memorial Tag Team Tournament's in the rearview mirror. The not thought of Ken Patera, flashback is in the rearview mirror. We're here.
I think we also had some Great American Bashes, didn't we?
Oh, that too.
And
yes.
Texas.
That's right. Yeah.
We did everything we could.
Iron Claw.
That's right. Everything we could to not get to this day.
That's right.
Maybe the biggest day of wrestling, really, in history. Hogan versus Andre.
Yeah. And this Saturday night's main event, it feels to me as a kid remembering back to this show, it was kind of like the beginning of this progression of wrestling, and wrestling getting bigger and more produced, and I couldn't be any more excited than I ever was in 87. But when I really look back at it, I think this show for me represents, in a way, a changing from where I was couldn't get any more excited about wrestling and couldn't love it anymore, to always hoping to get to that level. There's great things that happen in 88 and 89 and all this stuff, but it feels like I'm waiting, it feels like it's not the same. As we progress and move towards the 90s, the 80s wrestling is, disappearing from us. It's slipping away, and as much as I'm getting more and more access to wrestling, and I'm getting older and appreciating different things about it as a teenager, I just never quite, I don't know if it ever peaked. I was it was almost like my love of wrestling outgrew wrestling, in a way. It was, when you overhype up a movie and then you go see it, it can't live up to the hype kind of thing.
Well, where is Captain Ahab if he does not have the whale Moby Dick to pursue? Careful if you get what you want, the greatest day in wrestling.
That's right, yeah.
And never, everybody watching, the whole world,
yes.
On our turf.
That's right. All of a sudden, our thing is cool.
Yeah, exactly. Feeling pretty special. I would still, it is an interesting psychological aspect to the best thing ever happening, because it was great. And of course, that's debatable. But for us, at that age,
yes.
We're never going to be impressionable 15 or 14 or whatever.
Yeah.
We weren't 15 yet. The point being that we see things differently now, and in certain ways we were marks, in other ways we were old pros, and yeah, I know what you mean. There's a certain bitterness to achieving your goals, and there's the whole philosophical dilemma of now what?
Right. And, one thing, I never really thought of it this way
However, most of my best wrestling memories are after this.
Okay, yeah. I'm not trying to say there isn't a bunch of great stuff coming. I'm not saying that at all.
It just never takes the world stage again like this.
Yeah, and even when it does, it doesn't mean it the same thing to me, so
having said that, there's going to be people pulling their hair out the All In, these guys are idiots, and I guess we are, because we didn't even watch All In.
Well, yeah, I watched some of it afterwards and stuff like that, and and by certain metrics, WWE's more successful now than it's ever been, but I don't just look at the dollars they generate, these private sold shows in Saudi Arabia or whatever they're doing them in. It's I don't really care about that. They can't produce a show that generates the same kind of emotion and interest. They say that basically when WCW closed down and you look at the metrics of TV, there's approximately around 2 million fans that stopped watching wrestling and never came back.
You mean right after Ric Flair and Sting?
Yep.
Flair in the shirt?
Yeah. There was Georgia and JCP, WCW diehards that as bad as WCW got, they were still holding on. But when WCW closed its doors, they didn't just, some of them obviously did, but a lot of people didn't switch over to WWF and the new landscape of everything. They just went away.
It's like the end of NASCAR.
Yeah.
Or something where that just went away for these people. We'll do something else. We won't watch wrestling.
Yeah. They just moved on.
Wow.
And when companies like AEW start up or different things happen, they hope to recapture some of those people. They're like, well, maybe those people will come off the bench.
Well, right, and they never did.
Not to that degree.
At the side of you told me more about the would-be competition to the WWE over the years. If I was channel flipping, I might see the 6-sided ring and wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
Or my Buddy Lou would show me a match, but and it might come from whatever was going on. Like,
yeah, and he really appreciated the sort of the indies that popped up and Ring of Honor and all that stuff, and he was really deep into that. Even when I can remember still being somewhat excited about WWF, or at least trying to be, and he didn't really care about that at all. He cared about that smaller stuff that was more real wrestling, and I can appreciate that, but I think I was at the time where I was like, well, if they're that good, they'd be on the real TV,
I see. Yeah. Well, occasionally I did turn past Ring of Honor on the TV after Lou had introduced us to it, and thought, wow, if not for different timing,
yes, exactly.
Imagine this, in 1987, and I'm or 85.
Exactly. So there's so much stuff like ECW. I was not an ECW fan per se. I was aware of certain things about it. I can appreciate it. It's got its whole own life and everything, and it kind of created a spin-off. The negative side of ECW is it sort of changed the way fans were interacting with the product, and that to this day I think that's for the worse, and it's it hasn't helped. But all that being said, just like you just mentioned a second ago, if ECW had popped up on TV in 1987, I'm sure I would have been all over it. Because I would watch any wrestling I could find in 1987, 88. I was just, just anything. I would have watched, I would have, and I'm sure I would have been pulled into it and sucked into it. And then there would be that nostalgia factor, right? I could look back at it and be like, oh, this is so awesome. But to take in that product after the fact, having only sort of, knowing big picture details, it doesn't hit the same way. And it's that style of wrestling that just doesn't do it for me.
Right. So it's after WrestleMania 3, and in some ways the this peak will never be achieved, in our view.
That's right.
And yet, my favorite stuff has yet to come, because I'm the world may not be watching, as Vince claims in the following years. That's the slogan for 4, I think.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
But we are watching.
That's right.
Here at Legendary Wrestling Obsession, and we will continue to watch for at least another 3 years. We'll be taking it all in.
Yeah, I think I hung on pretty hard till late in 92, 93. Then my watching petered down a little bit. I was still watching, but I wasn't rewatching. I was only just sort of taking it in once and done.
Yeah,
and
maybe
then by 95, it really became difficult to keep up at all. Between 95 and 98-ish, I missed part of the Attitude Era. I missed some of the best wrestling because I was I'd gone through 20 whatever years of it, and it just wasn't, other things are happening in my life, and other than sitting home watching wrestling. So,
yep.
If only a DVR had existed during those years, I might have had a better first-hand experience.
Yeah, well, you handled the VCR like I handled a fucking pressure cooker. I don't even, it's just a deep fried combination. Just stay away from it. Don't touch it. You had much more tenacity at collecting wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
I wish that I had, a tenth of your determination to collect wrestling videos at that age. But anyway, I liked what I got to see.
That's right. Okay, so this Saturday Night's Main Event is really unique because it's the first one that does not on television feature a match with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. And of course we have to add the caveat that I'll go on rather to describe the caveat. There is we presume, main event on the card at the venue, but the announcers don't make one reference to it.
No, they don't acknowledge it at all.
No. And the wild thing is that Hercules wrestles twice tonight.
Yeah, that's right. He's busy. He's in the
busy
lumberjack match. He's everywhere.
Yeah, he's everywhere. And I'll just say this is a great Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, no, and this is
really one of the better ones.
This is one of my favorite ones for
awesome.
Sure. And, obviously because the Bulldogs wrestle in it. So that's,
Bulldog joy. Just when you thought you couldn't get any Bulldog love.
That's right.
We're going to have a good time with the Bulldogs tonight.
That's right. So before we get into the broadcast, before we get into what we got to see on TV all those many years ago, we do want to kind of look at, this dark match, this hidden main event, this strange occurrence. And I talked about it last episode or 2 episodes ago, the idea that when I first read main event and I read that tag team match, I had to convince myself have I lost part of my memory? Am I how could I not remember seeing that tag match 100 times? And because I've watched that card 100 times, and it's because it wasn't on the air.
Me too. I thought to myself, wow, that match must have really sucked because I forgot it.
Yeah.
I don't have one memory. What a boring boring double disqualification, brawl, 3 minutes fart away.
Now, I wish there was a way to see it. I wish I could have found a file for us for our purposes here, now. But I'm going to say that I'm glad that as a kid I didn't see that match because Andre was too special at the time. To see Andre wrestle again that quickly after WrestleMania III, it would have kind of burst the bubble a little bit because I'm going to look back and I haven't looked at it, so I don't know, but I'm going to just say off the top of my head, it's there's WrestleMania 3, Andre's going to appear in some interviews and stuff, but then there's Survivor Series. Then there's the contract signing. Then there's the main event, the Hogan Andre primetime special. Then there's WrestleMania 4. That's all, as far as I can, my memories of wrestling, that's all he ever wrestled. We don't look at things like house shows, and I'm sure there's all these other matches he was probably in, right? And we'll find out as we move along.
Yeah, and that of course, that's his. What about tag team champion? Not the tag team because they let him exit gracefully with
he definitely
with the tag run.
His
more singles runs.
By 88, hit the specialty. They started showing him more, right? So there's there's the Summer Slams. There's his match against Savage. His feud against Warrior. I started seeing lots of Andre matches, but this little period here where he comes back from being a good guy, becomes Hogan's foil. This year and a half period. They were really careful. He was an attraction, and you do not put that attraction every week in the ring.
Correct. He goes to second top. He's not in the main event anymore after this. Not when he's tagging, and not when he's feuding with Warrior or Jake. I mean, he might be main eventing house shows with Warrior.
Sure, yeah, absolutely,
and Jake.
Yeah,
because. Don't tell Jake he didn't main event.
That's right.
You motherfucker. Listen. So I won't say that, but I mean to say that the Warrior, but Andre, when he's in the tag, that angle is not main event.
No. And the tag team title, unfortunately, never really was in the WWF.
Yeah.
It never was given that 100%. It never got to the point where you felt hey, this is the actual main event, with other people, with those other wrestlers there too, not just, it's the main event tonight.
Well, because they had 3 and sometimes 4 cards a night, the whole roster split up, across the country. So, but if there's one TV show, then Andre, once he's done being Hogan's foil, then he's second to last, and he's not, the attraction. So quite as you put it, he isn't the attraction. So maybe good point that you for you to say that you're glad he's not there. But what we will do for you folks, we are going to use our imagination, our creative powers to call a match between Andre the Giant teamed up with Hercules versus Ken Patera and Hulk Hogan. We are going to have a sit down, drag him out. What's going to happen? We're gonna become bookers tonight. I'm going to be calling, baby. You're going to take the big splash, baby. You got to put him over. I'll be Virgil. Maybe not in character, but just for fun, we're going to imagine that it was up to us to tell the talent what to do in the ring with that main event. So we know that as Corey mentioned, what we know is that Hogan and Patera defeated Andre and Hercules, but we don't know how, and we don't know what happened before that. So we're going to make it up.
That's right.
as our extra main event. So as this is the main event of the live card that these fans got to watch, for our fans, and we love you. Write us a letter, please. We're going to put this at the back of the show, so we'll cover the whole Saturday night's main event, and then it'll be a bonus. Our version of Patera and Hogan versus Andre and Hercules. So we're saving that for a juicy finish.
And speaking of that, it's time to get to the show. Hit those NBC chimes.
So, the show itself is very Macho Man heavy. Oh, yeah. I'm taking over, getting ready for that face turn, the merchandise, and the lunch boxes, the t-shirts, everything going up. This will be Macho Man's last appearance as a heel.
On national TV, yeah.
On national TV until he turns heel again.
Exactly.
But before that, we're going to have, all of this is leading to my favoriteest moment in wrestling. But that's still, I think, 3 years down the road.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get there.
Be patient. God willing, we'll get there. the whole show starts with a recap of Macho Man versus George the Animal Steel. I cannot claim to be too enthusiastic for this match. I mean, we've covered it a lot, but we're going to remain on the sunny side, the bright side, and it happened, so we're covering it. So
yeah,
the difference,
I think that because it's a lumberjack match, that makes it fun. Like that's if they just literally got in the ring as a one-on-one.
Yeah,
it would have felt way too much of a repeat.
Well, for me, the problem is this: like now that we've been going back and looking at all the people that Savage wrestled on his way to the IC belt and with the IC belt, and now after the IC belt, I would have rather seen different matchups instead of 3 George the Animal Steel matches, because they're all basically half matches once he starts eating turnbuckles. We got to see very little of the Jake versus Savage. Like, look how exciting Jake versus Savage was, and we got 3 Jake versus Steel matches when we could have had like
4 if you count WrestleMania 2.
Exactly. So I just, there's my official submission as to why I protest another Savage and Steel match. But I mean, hey, I was moaning about it the last time we had a Savage and Steel match. So it is what it is. And sure, it's a lumberjack match, and that does help. But I would have easily traded at least one of these 3 for
absolutely.
a Savage versus Orndorff, which was a dream match that we watched and uncovered. We didn't even know was there.
Yeah. Yeah, specifically the one in between. So there's WrestleMania 2 was WrestleMania 2. I'd love to have been a different match, but whatever. The one where Steamboat comes back from his injury, that one kind of needs to be there. This lumberjack one, I'm kind of fine with because it ends the feud and it's kind of fun. It's the one in the middle, like the umpire chair. That one was like, that didn't need to be Steel. That could have been anybody.
Jim Brunzell, he can give us a good show.
Right,
Savage,
right?
Right. Give us a fucking 4-minute scorcher. And I did watch that match and I loved it. It was great fun.
Exactly.
Even if our man, jobbed for Savage, that's okay. Savage is a very man. He's willing to lose for the storyline. I've said before, so his ego doesn't really seem to be out of whack. He's the best out there at putting on a good show and taking a clean pin. I mean, Brunzell took a clean pin in that match, and I don't mind. And Savage takes a clean pin lots of times because it's for the overall good of the story.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, he's complaining about there's footage of Macho Man of George making off with Elizabeth the one time that he kidnapped her.
Yeah.
And they're laying out what's happening. So it's Macho Man who's explaining the lumberjack match too. He's giving out the rules right in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He's like, the toughest man in the world's around the ring. Yeah. We're spared any thoughts or comments, long staring into space from George Steele. None of him. But we get a good look at the rest of the card as we usually do in the opening.
So yeah, the whole opening is this weird set of this fireworks going off in the background, and then the wrestlers are sort of in these inset boxes in front of them. And the WWE Network, they dug deep to find the shittiest music they could find to lay over this. I wasn't able through my digging to find out what it was, and I'm not talking about the emotion song. I'm talking about the music that plays during the promos themselves. So we're just going to assume it was the good music.
Yeah, the one that we heard behind Jake that one time
exactly.
made it sound so serious, really driving synthesizer kind of percussive stuff. So let's see. After Macho Man and the Lumberjack match is laid
Ricky
out,
Steamboat.
Yeah, he comes on and does for him, it's a good promo.
Yeah, for him, yeah. He's gonna melt Hercules' chains.
Yeah. We don't actually get to hear from Hercules.
That's right. He's too busy wrestling all night. He doesn't have time for an interview.
That's right.
And also, it's a rematch of his WrestleMania 2.
Actually,
Hercules versus Steamboat.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is a rematch of the WrestleMania 2 match between Hercules and Steamboat.
Oh, that's cool. I hadn't thought about that.
That's right.
Now it comes back to me. I believe they now cut to the next wrestler. Our first look at Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who's not even wrestling tonight.
That's right.
He makes a pledge to do what Hulk Hogan couldn't. He's going to stop Nikolai Volkov from singing that Russian national anthem. You think you're going to do that? No, that ain't.
If that commie thinks he's going to...
That's right. Hogan made the same pledge, and he couldn't make it stick.
That's right.
But Hacksaw Jim Duggan has got a 2x4.
He's going to crack the Liberty Bell.
And he cracks his 2x4 in half, too. He smacks it on the on the concrete. And so that was interesting. They're giving him a push.
Big push, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And the Hart Foundation, they get of the tag match, they get the side of the interview. So we got to hear their laughing and squealing.
They're sandwiched in there because there's 4 of them.
Yes,
so
right.
Danny's clutching Jimmy's coat, and they're all kind of hugging like it's minus 30 in the studio. Yeah, and that's right. And I like Neidhardt's laugh is pretty funny there. I got a giggle out of it.
Yes, right.
It's crazy. He's always had a good villain laugh.
Yeah,
Neidhardt.
And then we get a great look at Bobby Heenan with a neck brace with Andre. And Andre's got a funny look on his face.
Yep, he does. And we are promised comments from.
Yeah, and the proof is in the pudding. They got footage to prove that Andre's the champ.
Yeah. So at this point, we're at home pretty excited to see footage of WrestleMania 3 because I don't think I had seen anything.
Yeah, jumping the gun here a little bit, but when we do see things in this era, it was so neat. Think about this, the limited access we had to wait a long time for the video to come out. And what they did on TV, they didn't just, come out. This isn't like Monday Night Raw the day after the pay-per-view where they usually would actually have the main event wrestle again. They'd literally have Randy Orton and John Cena would wrestle again the next night. They'd do that.
Same thing, yeah.
And they would show you everything. All we got of Hogan Andre, we got the footage of them staring nose to nose and the push and a couple of punches or something, but otherwise it was like still photos.
Yep.
The slam heard around the world was just like this one brief image, that's all you got. It
was great.
And it just made you want to see it so bad.
Yep.
Whereas now, I would just go on the internet and I would look up the video.
Yeah.
And, I would just see it. And the scarcity, the work you had to do to get to see the thing is what made it so important.
Yeah, like our letter articulated, the poor guy who waited and waited.
Yeah.
Much like Corey waited and waited for the WrestleMania 3 tape.
That's right.
That's where he showed up. That's where young Corey is right now. And our letter writer from, was he from Toronto? Jeff from Toronto?
Yeah, Toronto, yeah.
Okay. So we are going to get some Sheiky, baby. That's the good news about Duggan, and that means that Volkov
That's right.
and Sheik
so
will
I had speculated pre-WrestleMania 3. I was like, ooh, this might be Sheik's last appearance on China's main event, but I was wrong. It's here tonight. This would be his last appearance as far as the Iron Sheik before he's gonna get caught in a certain car with Jim
with his Duggan. Yeah. So I can't say we're happy to see him.
Duggan, look what you did to our Sheik.
Yeah. Otherwise, I've got nothing against Duggan. I
like Duggan just fine. And I thought he was pretty cool. Like the magazines in Mid-South and my UWF exposure. He was still there when I started watching UWF. So that was like he was an ass kicker. He became this sort of silly cartoon, cross-eyed character here in the WWF. But the guy that preceded that, the basis for the character was like this big, mean, tough guy.
Absolutely. Promo-wise, we don't get to hear from Jake in the opening, and I don't think we get to hear from Kamala either. Or Fuji. Is Fuji?
Hogan's the last one. Hogan closes us out that he's there for his comments and
right.
Prove it. And then we get into the reel where we get to see the images, and that's where we get to see, pretty much
a bunch of WrestleMania 3.
Like you said, a lot of WrestleMania 3 images.
Some of the classic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the stuff that's been in there before. And they make sure they show us everybody. We get Can-Am Connection. We get Sheik and Volkov. We get anybody who's on this card is going to make, gets a little crack at a picture. And then, they're going to bring us into the University Stadium and Jesse looking pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. He's got a silver tinsel wig on and a bright red feather boa and a sleeveless top with, the fringes beaded, like Macho Man would do that with his shirt sometimes too. So and his pretty common red and white sunglasses for Jesse as well. Yeah. And they're in South Bend, Indiana on the university campus.
Yeah.
I have been to Indiana actually myself, not South Bend. I went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, just for no particular reason. Just have a little adventure in America.
There you go.
And then I was passing the cars are lined up outside this place called Chick-fil-A. But
Chick-fil-A, yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while. I was like, I'm reading it, so I'm like, Chick-fil-A. And I'm like, it's a big letter A. Maybe it's Chick-fil-A. Nobody, but apparently it's a big thing. I didn't dare brave that lineup.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know if there are any in Canada. There certainly aren't any in Winnipeg. So they bring us to footage from earlier in the day. So we talked about this last week. The Ken Patera debate with Bobby Heenan, and the reason that Bobby Heenan's sporting a neck brace, which is awesome because, like, I can picture almost all the managers wearing neck braces, you know? Like, I could picture J.J. Dillon or Jim Cornette wearing a neck brace. I could picture Harvey Wimpleman / Downtown Bruno was his other name when he was in Memphis. You know, it's like a classic thing of, like, these heel managers and then wearing their, like, ambulance chasers. You know, they're looking for lawsuits and... I love it. So Bobby can wear a neck brace with the best of them and wince and show how much pain he's in. And we see all that footage we already talked about last week of
the Mr. B special
beating him up. And
my grade 6 teacher described the bit so well to the whole class after he saw it the morning after he watched the AWA wrestlers.
That's right. The belt around the neck and the whip and the.
He painted such a. And it was just great watching him relive it and smiling and like just he was going, wow, it was so great that everybody's cheering, and he painted a perfect picture, Mr. B, Mike Bolianis.
So that's the setup here, and we're gonna be opening. It's kind of interesting the choice here, the order of the matches, because our opening match, which in some ways is listed as the main event, is gonna be Jake the Snake Roberts versus Kamala. So the camera takes us back to backstage. Mean Gene is with this eclectic group of heels. So we got a close-up of Kamala. He's got his usual bewildered look on his face. He doesn't know what's going on. And as we pan out, we see his handler Kimchi's there and his new manager, Mr. Fuji, who's sporting some face makeup himself. Pretty neat. So Mean Gene asks Mr. Fuji, why this match when you know he's afraid of the snake? And Mr. Fuji's pretty funny because he's like, Fuji, born year of the serpent. Actually born year of the dog.
Lying, devious Mr. Fuji.
But who's counting? But
what kind of dog? Is it a water dog?
That's a good question.
Or a stone dog?
I didn't look that far into it.
Yeah. I wonder if we didn't even check out our elements.
That's right.
Fact check. We are fact checkers on holiday.
Yeah. So Mr. Fuji says he understands the snake. I can help Kamala. I will help Kamala. And then he does this really weird thing with his hand. He goes like up and down with his hand, like I don't know, like a wave or something.
Well, no, he's miming a snake. He's pretending his hand is the snake.
Okay.
Miming a wave. Corey, what's the matter with you? Get your head on.
He didn't really look like
I don't know. He said, "I am the snake," and he's doing with a wavy with the snake. What do you think he's waving? He's like, I am the Queen Elizabeth. No, he's doing it, and he's hissing. You don't know what he's doing. Inexcusable. What kind of an announcer are you? A disgrace to the profession. You can't recognize a mime snake from a man who tells you it's. Anyway, there a good beat down on Corey Draper.
That's right. Yeah, how dare you? So from there we jump to the in the arena. We got the great Kamala music at the entrance. The mask. I think he's got his spear, his shield. He's got it all. They're all coming out.
No wizard, alas.
Yeah, the wizard's gone at this point. So
no horn of Kamala.
Yeah, that's right.
No, Kamala.
Shaka
Khan. Horn of Shaka Khan.
That's right. So at this point, McMahon starts talking about how, what a rough time it's been for Jake. And we get the flashback to the snake pit with the honky-tonk guitar bash. And we jump backstage with Gene, and he's with Jake the Snake, and he's got that great hand trembling going on. I don't know if you remember the one main event.
Of course. It's
Jesse said, is he holding a vibrator?
X-rated commentary on a Saturday night.
That's right.
That's all I could think of as like Gene was doing his vibrator shtick. The women banging on my door at 4 a.m. I finally had to get up and let him out.
Yeah, that's right. So it's interesting because Gene's with the heels, and he's basically like, why would you take this match when such and such? And then he's with Jake. Why would you take this match? Right. Like, he says to him, I can't help but think you must have had your brain scrambled. Why would you want to take this match?
Yeah. A little too close to the bone there.
Exactly, a little too close to reality.
Because they say that this injury led to some of the tough times for Jake, and the painkillers.
Injuries and stuff, yeah. And Jake tells him maybe because Damien wants to. What would Damien want with Kamala? And that's where Jake takes Damien and just rams him in Mean Gene's face.
It's a big spin, yeah. It's he whips him around from right to left,
right into his face, yeah.
And but Gene's gonna have rougher treatment yet to come.
Exactly, yeah. This is an interesting night for Gene. So Jake asks, why don't you ask him? Gene's just completely flustered and scared, and Jake heads off. And so we come out, we get the first chyrons of the night, basically. So we got Kamala's is this weird sort of cartoon drawing of his own, face with this big nose ring that I don't think he actually has. But they add that in to the Kamala.
Yeah.
And then Jake's getting the one we've seen before, where the J and the S in Jake the Snake is made out of these, connected serpents. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty cool. Jake's coming out, still no music. So he's big baby face, but he hasn't, they still, this is an era where there's a lot of the wrestlers do not have music, even though they rely on it so heavily for certain wrestlers, but they just ignore it for other people. And I guess maybe that makes it more special for the people that do have the music, but we know it's not going to be long, a couple more years, and it's like everyone's going to have music, but but for now, they don't. So Jake gets close to the ring, and he just slides Damien right in, and it's pretty hilarious. McMahon's really funny. He sees Kamala. Kamala does this, high jump. He jumps straight up in the air, and then he runs out of the ring, and McMahon compares him to Carl Lewis, the American, sprinter, high jump athlete, long jump, whatever else. And that's pretty funny. So we got Joey Morello's helping Jake to put the snake back in the bag. And this is where we see Kamala come in, and he sneaks along the ropes very slowly.
Well, apparently Jake's got to tie the a triple, double, quadruple Sailor Bowie knot. I don't know what he's doing, but he's got to make sure that Damien's not getting out of there on his own. So
that's right, yeah.
He's about 30 seconds tying it up.
Exactly,
I'm like,
really leaves him vulnerable to this big attack. So, of course, Kamala's in from behind with a big overhead chop. Jake is right away on the downside after scaring Kamala. Now he's going to face the wrath of Kamala. So you have big overhead chops, and there's a whip to the ropes, and Kamala's famous reverse thrust kick, which always looked pretty good for, a big guy like that. He wasn't super high, but it's still pretty neat. That stuns Roberts.
Yeah, well, it's not like he's doing sweet chin music.
Well, no.
It's more like sweet belly button music.
That's right. Sweet belly.
Sweet belly kicking music.
That's right. So Kamala follows Jake into the corner, but this is where Jake uses the leverage. So his arms are up on the top rope, so he lifts himself up into the air, mule kicks Kamala, stuns the big man. Jake comes out of the corner fighting. He's got right hands going, and Kamala's just got the best way of selling. It's the tippy toes. He's always he's staring at the sky, stunned, and he's up on his tippy toes, looking like he's going to teeter backwards at any moment, but he never does. He's like that drunk guy that won't fall down or something like that.
Yeah, you're waiting for it. You're waiting for it.
That's right. So Kimchi's up on the apron for the distraction, but Jake is focused. He's not going to be distracted by anybody. He's staying laser focused. So he leaves the handler up to the referee. And he bounced off the ropes to attack Kamala, but this is where he eats this big throat thrust. So it's kind of funny. The one time, the guy's not dumb. He doesn't turn his back on the wrestler, and he still gets hit. No reward for being smart. What's going on?
Yeah, well, Kamala's got these quick reactions.
That's right.
He's very fast.
More athletic than people know.
He's so big, and he's fast and agile. Yeah. I mean, the guy really is a marble.
Yeah, he can do lots of cool things.
Plus, let's just say it. This is one of the best actors in the business.
Yeah.
I've never seen him crack.
No.
You know what I mean? He's always playing this guy from a different country, a different culture.
Yeah.
Just because he looks like it. But, I mean, this is...
Yeah, I wonder if there's any of those outtakes with Mean Gene backstage with him being interviewed where Kamala, maybe breaks character or something, or...
Well, yeah.
You have told me about one. Yeah. Now that sounds... Yeah.
Because he's like, what is this shit, skipping promos in Minneapolis? Like Gene busts his balls because he just didn't show up for a day's work. And then Kamala goes, I was doing the funky.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to stay in bed with his girlfriend.
That's right.
And probably got fined for a day's, maybe he called in sick. And anyway, it was, indeed, it happened.
Yeah.
Didn't we cover all this? We was
we did
Sugar.
talk about it. As soon as I said it, I remembered what you were talking about.
What about, no, wait. JYD was Big Sugar. Or what were JYD's earlier names?
Oh, he had a few. He had Ritter, Big Daddy Ritter. That was his Stampede name.
Okay.
And I'm trying. Junkyard Dog was the main one, but he had about 4 or 5 names that I looked up, and I'm forgetting them all at the moment.
So I'm forgetting Kamala's earlier aliases.
Yeah, he had something brown. It was like sweet something. Yeah.
Well, okay. Maybe that's why I said sugar.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but he took this gig. He played it so well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And he carried it to all these different territory. He came up with it before the WWF, so he was able to use it in all these different places. He was in Texas, and he was all these different places as Kamala. And
the Ugandan giant who couldn't understand English, but he could understand his trainer who wore a mask and had the safari kind of look.
Yeah, for sure.
And what a great one. And he must be young here because he wrestles.
I think so. Yeah, he wrestles for a long time, so he's probably He's probably only
He's
in his 30 or something, late 20s, yeah.
Gotta be in his 20s here.
Maybe, yeah. It'd be interesting to look that up. So Jake's down, so he's getting the chops from this Kamala standing above him. He gets up and that's, oh, pardon me. You can't miss out on Kamala's the belly slap. I love it. McMahon's like, why does he do that? I always thought it was like, he's hungry. He's like, getting ready to feast on his prey here.
Cannibal.
That's right.
Well, I mean, Jake loves that shtick. He's like, Damien's hungry. He's going to eat that big King Kong Bundy. And then Kamala's like, well, he's scared of snakes, but otherwise, he's going to cook them all.
Yep. So Jake stands up and receives another side thrust kick that staggers him. And there's a headbutt and then a lifting bear hug. So Kamala held on to him for a while. It's a bit of a rest spot. Jake finally lowers his leg back down to the ground and kind of gets the leverage of standing on his own 2 feet. So he starts punching his way out, but Kamala's not letting go. And that's when Jake realizes that he has an Achilles heel, or more like it, bare feet. And he starts stomping on his feet.
10 Achilles toes.
That's right, Achilles toes. So yeah, the stomping on the boots, the bootless Kamala is just it's a better option, right? And Kamala's really funny. He's just hopping in pain like he's stepping on hot coals or something like that. And Jake's kind of following around the ring, giving him kicks to the back of the leg. And it's really neat. I love that look. And it's like a way that Jake would, his shtick in the ring was sort of to find different ways to attack people because they kept putting him up against all these monsters. So he had to find different tactics because he couldn't outpower them. In this era, like, Jake looks great. Like, he looks fit and he looks like fresh. Like, even just by early 90s, not only has he aged a tiny bit, but he doesn't look very healthy, and when we know for a lot of reasons why. But I mean, here in 87, regardless of whatever he's doing in his life, he looks like, he looks like an athlete as far as like he's put together kind of thing. And
right. Well, at this point, I hadn't moved to Team Savage. At this point, I was more of a mark, and I was all about Jake.
Yeah.
And but as I said, I cheered Jake when he wrestled Hogan here in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I don't know that I was. How can you not boo Savage when he's pulling Elizabeth in front of So at the time, I was like, Savage, you coward. I wasn't like, oh, you genius performer.
So Kimchi's trying to get in with a quick distraction to kind of buy Kamala some time as he retreats into the corner in pain. And Jake doesn't want to go in after him. He's calling him out to the middle of the ring.
A lot of goading. Follow me.
Yeah. So Kamala slowly advances, and it looks like there's going to be a test of strength. And we're like, didn't you learn your lesson with Bundy? Like, don't do it.
Yep.
But Jake, this time, he doesn't really engage. While he does knuckle lock one hand, he quickly turns that into an arm whip, and he stomps on the toes again. I love it. He goes right back to it. So desperate to escape that punishment, Kamala just rears back with his massive overhead chop and just totally floors Jake. He just puts him right down. So now he's choking Jake. And this is when Jesse realizes that Joey Marella's the ref, and he calls him out for his bad officiating in the Hogan-Andre match. And it's super funny. He's like, that's who they should suspend. Joey Marella, not Danny Davis.
Yep.
He might be right. So Jake is being choked across the second rope. Jake's crawling away, trying to get away from the big man, but eventually ends up laying on the bottom of the rope with his head outside of the ring and that big stinky foot of the giant across his throat. He's being choked out. So Kamala starts jogging around the ring, slapping his belly again.
We don't know that it's stinky. He doesn't even have to wait.
Maybe
no sneakers, no socks. Probably he's fresh and lots of air.
So at this point, Jake rallies with a gut punch right on that crescent moon. Him in the. It's like Mike Tyson, the Punch Out video game, right? Like you got to hit him in the crescent moon or something.
Just to stun. That doesn't do any damage, but it stops his attack for a second.
That's right. Yeah. So then there's a kick and an uppercut, and Kamala's teetering. Is he going to go down? And then the camera, there's a weird edit. They decide to go to the crowd or to Kimchi or something. And when you come back in, Jake has somehow lost track of Kamala. He's turning around and Kamala's behind him and headbutting him. And it's just like, why? You were hitting him. How did he get behind you? It's a weird edit. It's a big chop Jake takes, and he tries to fight back. Jake swings this big home run shot, but totally misses. There's another headbutt, and at this point, Jake falls through the ropes, retreats to the outside, and this is where he's inviting Kamala to follow him. And you can see Kimchi pointing with the riding crop or whatever it is, go get him.
Yeah, so it's a sucker chase.
It's the sucker chase, and it begins. So Jake runs around to the far side of the ring and slides in, and Kamala comes in the ring. And it's very important. He comes in between the bottom and the second rope. He doesn't get up and come up because it really sets this up so perfectly.
He uses the stairs.
He uses the stairs, eh?
Yeah, to get on the apron.
Oh, okay,
That's
up under the
first
apron, and then he
they're
crawls,
right there. So he's like, well, why not?
He crawls in between the first and second rope, which puts him at the perfect height. And Jake just gives him this devastating knee lift. Just looks great. Just totally stuns him and staggers him.
But if you thought that knee lift was good.
I have been waiting for this move for months because I would have sworn that he did this move to Bundy in the previous match, the other Saturday Night event match, and my memory was wrong. It's here. I'm sure I must have seen a Coliseum video match of Jake and Bundy where this move is used because I can picture him doing it to both. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Jake the Snake. He sits himself up. He perches up on the top rope. He's sitting on the top rope with his feet on the second rope, and he waits for Kamala to get close enough, and he does this amazing leaping knee lift. I mean, they got to bring this move back. Like, this is an incredible move.
Yeah.
And this is a finisher. This just looks like so devastating.
Fucking amazing.
Kamala takes this huge bump. It sounds so good. It looks so good. It looks as good as anybody's finisher. It looks like a knockout blow.
Yeah.
So here we go. Jake calls for the DDT, and the crowd wants it. They're hungry. They're thirsty for that finisher.
It is kind of like situation specific a bit to Kamala, though, because
you need a height. You need the guy with the right height, I think. Yeah.
Also, who's going to charge? Here's where you'd have to sell it different. Jake would have to be playing sucker in the corner, and oh my God, I'm so vulnerable. The other guy'd have to be opposite the charge, say Bundy was going for an avalanche.
Yeah.
Bundy's got to think, I got him. Jake's got his arms tangled up for a second, then Bundy's rolling full steam, and as he's at mid-ring, Jake throws off Heenan, puts his butt up into the top rope, and Bundy's like, what? Bundy's trying to stop, but then, with his feet on the second rope and his butt on the top, as you say, Jake launches out with a finisher and knee lift running as the guy's crashing into him.
I'm trying to, in my head, I'm picturing did Jake do this to Andre? Did Jake do this to Earthquake? I think he might have, because I think this is a move that this can't be the only time he did this move, because this thing was burned in my brain. This move,
it looks incredible.
Yeah, so great. So we're looking for the finish here, but Fuji from the left side of our screen, as we're watching on TV, jumps up on the apron to distract Joey Morella, and as that happens, Kimchi enters from the near side with his back to us, and he delivers this left-handed clothesline to the back of Jake's head that completely stuns him. So Jake falls backwards to the mat on his back, leaving him completely exposed for the Ugandan Giant. And this diving, running splash, he just crushes Jake. And the 1, the 2, and the 3, and our hero Jake goes down to pinfall.
He does. Yep. He has the dignity of having been attacked by a heel manager. Yep. And yet, nowadays, that would be definitely not a 3 count.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. They would have had to drive a tractor in to kill him or something before they could have 3 counted him. So Jake's really selling the ribs here. He's really selling how hurt he is. And at this point, we see Kimchi raising the hand of Kamala, but immediately he takes off the pith helmet and he starts taking off I don't want to call it a scarf, but he has something around his neck and he starts taking stuff off and he takes off that jacket. And we see a very fancy shirt.
A lot of rhinestones in there, baby.
And the mask comes off. It's the Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Boo. Who would have thought that could have been?
Exactly. And it's funny because remember we looked at those results. We came across that one match. It was some sort of a Hogan match where Jake was dressed up as Kimchi to screw over Kamala, and whoever else. So it's interesting. And Paul Orndorff did the fake Kimchi. So this is Jake.
I forgot that Jake dressed up as Kimchi.
Yeah, we didn't see the footage. We just read it on a house show result. Okay. Yeah. Kimchi cost the bad guys the match. I think it was a tag match where Jake was the impersonating
right.
Kimchi.
So this would be like he did the work of a face on that night by costing the heels the match.
Exactly.
Fun,
he totally
fun.
was. Yeah, he was totally he's pretending to be
and
Kimchi.
that strange era, which is over now. He's huge face now. But
that's right.
We talked about that gray time.
Yeah, the gray area that went on for 3 months. It's
which was great.
Pretty
Jake,
wild.
The best stuff.
So here we go. This reveal, this flashy man, the Honky Tonk Man.
What a
it's
great
gimmick.
McMahon's
his response is so great. He's so upset and so indignant that this has happened. And so Honky drops a couple of elbows. And I noticed there's a sign in the crowd that says, "Don't ban the DDT." And it kind of triggered this memory. I'm pretty sure we missed over it when we were looking through our footage. We didn't come across it, but I'm quite positive on syndicated TV, Jimmy Hart and the Honky Tonk Man did a couple of promos where they were like, "We're going to get get that move banned, and so
nice. That's always
cool.
a good angle.
Yeah. So then he picks up Jake for the shake, rattle, and roll neckbreaker, which is probably one of the weakest finishers, because when you look at like Rick Rude's neckbreaker versus Honky's neckbreaker, I mean, I'd rather take Honky's neckbreaker.
Yeah, well, later on, Ricky throws a swinging neckbreaker on somebody, and it's no finisher.
That's right, exactly.
But Honky's got the 3 windups, or because a 1 and a 2 and a
yeah. So it's super funny. Honky gets on the mic and he tells the crowd, "You're a beautiful audience. I love you."
What a great shtick! They hate him, and
they're just booing him.
And he's just thanking them for all the support. I love you. You're beautiful. As if they're cheering him. It's fucking comic genius.
It's so awesome.
It really is great.
And he
Thank you.
Gives Jake one more stop for good luck.
Boo!
And here's what McMahon says. He's Honky Tonk Man. He's gonna pay for that. He's gonna pay dearly one day. I want to know when. When does the Honky Tonk Man pay? Jake, as far as I know, never gets any revenge, ever.
Yeah, that sucks. I guess maybe on the circuit,
Yeah, maybe we're going to come across a Philly or somewhere where Jake DDTs him, and pins him or something, but let's say before he wins the Intercontinental title, but Jake doesn't get to take the title off of him. Jake doesn't get his revenge by taking this belt off of this guy. Jake is on, he's clobbered with the guitar. He loses at WrestleMania 3. And then here he gets cost another match, and it's just I don't see where Jake goes on for big things. But as far as I can tell, Honky Tonk Man wins this feud, hands down. Yeah,
how unsatisfying that Honky never gets his comeuppance from Jake the Snake Roberts.
That's right. So yeah, we'll see over the summer months here if we can find a house show where Jake can give Honky what he deserves, which is an ass kicking. But for now, as far as I know, Honky wins. Honky always wins over Jake.
Oh, no, don't do this. That's Shake, Rattle, Roll. Sets him up. Jake the Snake now. Go! A neckbreaker down to the canvas. Look at this. I can't believe that a Honky Tonk Man has done this. How low can you go?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You're beautiful audience. Thank you. Thank you for all your support. I love you. You're beautiful audience. Thank you.
Remember we talked about Kamala sending George out of probably MSG or something on a stretcher?
One of the big cards. Yeah. It was on something we watched. We didn't actually review that match, but we mentioned it for sure. The big splash took him out.
Because it was billed to Kamala facing Hogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so George, the Animal Steel, is another excellent source of shoot interviews.
Yeah.
For me, the jury's out on him, because he became an office guy, which is tough, because then you're not one of the boys. Yeah. And then the boys won't ever see you the same. Love his Boogaloo Shuffle. It's one of the most crazy, fun, silly things going in wrestling. And and I think we didn't really take a moment to savor the comedy gold of Kamala versus George the Animal Steel.
That's right, yeah.
Because George Steele himself has the best term for it. He said, I became a cartoon character.
Yeah.
I mean, these are his words. So, and we haven't put that term on it. Kamala is as good as it gets cartoon character.
That's right, yeah.
He's not wearing the Olympic wrestling gear, and he hasn't got the cauliflower ears.
No.
A Vern Gagne special.
Yeah.
Kamala is Vince McMahon's, dream cartoon.
That's
so
right.
This is the cartooniest match of all cartoon matches, comedy gold. So George Steele is talking about the booking, and he's saying well, wait a minute. You got to put me out on a stretcher. You can't just have me get up and walk away from a splash off the top rope. So he said it was his idea. In 20 years or whatever, he'd never been carried out.
Yeah.
So he was putting Kamala over big time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he wrestled a huge chunk of his career as a scary heel
against
Pedro and Bruno. And
that's right. And that's what he said. I was a brawling heel and not a cartoon character for his whole career. And then we saw, because with the weapons, the forks, the knives, sitting down.
Abdullah Light.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the big, may as well tie a big kerchief around his neck, a little dinner serviette. So it was unique that when Kamala lays him out and they took him out like that, and George had never had that happen for him.
Right.
Basically, they did an old theater exercise that I would do in acting class.
Okay.
Where the two people look at each other and they move really slowly and they pretend they're in a bathroom mirror.
Okay.
And you go about brushing your teeth or shaving or cleaning your eyes or whatever slowly enough
one
that
person's trying to mimic you, I guess, eh?
well, you want to get to the point where you don't know who's leading. The teacher
okay,
comes
yeah.
along and watches you and sees if you're mirroring each other.
Yeah.
It's a mirror game.
Yeah.
So these two, Kamala and George Steele, start playing the mirror game. Like they put one hand up and the other guy puts his hands up. They tilt their head. The other guy's tilting their head, and they're just kind of like doing this weird, like looking at each other.
Yeah.
Until George Steele takes his finger and he goes for the face painting. Kamala just watches him transfixed, like, you know, so he takes the thing and then he sniffs it, and then George does the whole just starts doing the boogaloo shuffle, and Kamala goes, he runs and hides behind the ropes, and then a bunch of foot stomping and and the shtick, and then George says, okay, so King Curtis. It took me a minute to realize that's the Wizard.
Of course, yeah.
Well, you say
Curtis,
of course.
We talked about him a little bit in
I
Fuji's Hawaiian Tag Team Championship and all that stuff.
Apparently, I cannot remember our own broadcasts.
There you go. You're not
never
supposed
mind. Yeah. So George is saying, we'll get Curtis will throw the horn in. Kamala hit me with that.
Yeah.
Then he climbs. So he was talking
Shaka
about
Khan.
That's right, Shaka Khan. It's just so I did watch it, and it's a lot of good laughs. Like
That's
it's
awesome. Yeah.
You can't get more.
I definitely saw the footage of the end of the match. I saw the splash.
Sure.
You know,
but the shtick, you know what
I
I mean?
I think I missed that. I think I definitely missed that.
Because like George is copying Kamala with the belly slapping. Slap, 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 slap. So Kamala starts copying George with the one arm up in the air, bending his wrist, boogaloo, crazy shuffle, and it's like he's complaining to the Wizard and Chi-Chi, Kimchi. He's like, but look at what he's doing. It's like, oh, it's just so funny. Like this is the comedy. Lou showed us a good comedy match, with a Japanese guy, and like it was a different style of wrestling. It was so full of laughs.
Right.
Ichikaru, or I don't know, but wrestling can be so funny.
Especially when it's not forced humor. Like they're not like, go out there and dance, but it's like actual genuine, like kind of thought out stuff. That's great. We got to settle the score. we got to finish this match. We got to get this one in the books. In the cemetery, maybe? Put it to rest.
Yeah, the graveyard. That's where George the Animal Steele's headed after this lumberjack match. I'm going to finish the job, because I'm a heel for not for much longer, I'm going to be turning face and taking over the WWF. But tonight, I'm going to take that hairy bozo, put him down 1, 2, 3, hurt him real bad. Take it.
The only other lumberjack match I think we've covered was the Savage Hogan lumberjack match where Morocco and Bundy were on the outside beating up Hogan, getting in those good avalanche splashes on the post, ribs bandaged.
Right, this is the bandage from the Bundy squash.
And this match is taking place before Saturday's Main Event has actually aired.
Well, as I mentioned, everybody knows Macho Man's going on to become one of the most beloved heroes, and he's about to be half of the Mega Powers. So this sadly does mark our last of the best Savage as far as overall look, in-ring performance, and just the whole thing. I mean, he is my favorite, but it's going back to this era, I gotta say, is the best Savage. And for one thing, I don't approve of the cowboy hat. So there's a whole, that whole thing where I'm like, it doesn't look that good. My favorite moment is yet to come, but and his career highlights are yet to come, but I prefer a cowardly,
the in-ring style,
yelling at Elizabeth, because how can you resist hating this guy? It's just like, it's such a smart,
and a guy that also is as much as he's playing the coward, he still has more offense as a bad guy than he does as a good guy. He's just he's a punching bag.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for making the point that I would have gotten to.
Yeah.
This is his greatest. So I'm gonna miss the Intercontinental Savage.
Yeah.
That was the best Savage for all these reasons. But he did look fucking ripped and tough. And 15 years later, he came back and it wasn't healthy for him. But he was clearing the ring like Goldberg. Also he had the status and reputation to come back and be so very top dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and he looked incredible, and he stopped wearing the cowboy hat. So I was like, I wish I was paying attention, and maybe who knows what. But I don't know every twist and turn of the Macho Man saga. The guys from old school wrestling have educated me, but I wasn't really watching. So God willing, maybe one day we'll go a bit closer.
We'll go off script.
Yeah,
and
just watch the Macho Man because of.
Well, I remember telling you, like, I remember seeing like him win the world title in WCW without a shirt on, and I was like, Jeff, he's like,
I know, prime Macho Man.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of that stuff, but I saw the one that was tainted by Hogan saying, "No, it's my win" and stuff like that. And anyway, but we are trying to keep our show a little tighter than it's gotten long. Stay on target. So tonight, I salute the Intercontinental Champion Macho Man Savage by calling the final match
is the greatest of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion Randy Macho Man Savage. Oh yeah, I don't want to hear any more form or disrespect out of you, Okerlund. You better shut your mouth. I'm forever the IC title holder. Always will be, yeah. And tonight, I'm gonna take that George Steele, put a trophy on the wall, yeah. But that Ricky Steamboat, yeah, that belt's stealing nobody. He's right there at ringside, he's getting in my face, and I'm not gonna have it, no way. And George the Animal Steele hit me from behind. Yeah, didn't have time to take off the robe or the shades, no way. Attacked from behind like a sneaky little rat, like an animal, yeah, that's what he did. Double axe handle, put down the animal, yeah. Pop him in the head, yeah, take that. Drop an elbow on George the Animal Steele. Yeah, look at him. That big sweaty pig, that hairy animal, yeah. I don't even like to put my hands on him, but that's what I did. Put him down, yeah. I slipped right there, yeah. There was all that sweaty pig. I slipped in that pool of sweat, and I'm down on the canvas, yeah. And then George the Animal Steele takes advantage of all that sweaty ring. My canvas just can't stand up. And, yeah, looks kind of like the animal threw me there, but no, I'm just trying to get out of my ring gear, yeah. I'm just jumping out of my robe, ready for action, and, it didn't have nothing to do with it. I'm just trying to get ready for the match, yeah. Now you can see there I am outside with the lumberjacks, yeah, finally getting my shades off. They're expensive sunglasses, yeah, and then them British bulldogs start attacking me for no good reason. I need to protect my ring gear, yeah. So I get back in the ring after beating up that stupid Dynamite and beating up on Davey Boy. Yeah, I get back into the ring to face George the Animal. Time for a fist fight, yeah. Throwing punches, getting the better of George the Animal Steele. Look at him stagger, yeah. Every blow the Macho Man lands sends that animal a little lower down the food chain. Yeah, worm food, that's where he's gonna be. Dig it. Until he grabs my hair, yeah. That beautiful hair. All of his hair's on that nasty, big, fat bowling pin body of his. The Macho Man ain't grabbing no hair, no way. George the Animal Steele's not above cheating, so he grabs the hair and throws me into the turnbuckle. Smash! Now I'm seeing stars. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where I went to. Then I heard something out of the corner of my ear. Yeah, Elizabeth was calling for help. I had to get out of the ring and go and give her a little hand. And who's there but the Bulldogs? Yeah. So I had to lay them out. 1, 2, 3, boom. Then Tito shows up, so I gave him the business. Yeah.
Didn't they actually just throw you back in the ring?
No way. No, I gave them what they asked for. Messing with the Macho Man. I heard Elizabeth needed some help. I wasn't running. I was defending my woman. I don't want to hear any more disrespect out of you. I laid them all out, yeah. Better than the Hart Foundation, yeah. At WrestleMania, I took on all 3 of them, left them laying, and then I went and I calmed down Elizabeth, and I got back into the ring to take care of that George the Animal Steele. And what does he do? He decides to bite me on the forehead like the filthy animal he is. He's chewing on the Macho Man. And I got the scars to prove it on my forehead, yeah. He hit me from behind just like last time, because it's the only way he can get the upper hand on the Macho Man's bite. Hit me from behind, yeah. But now, he's got me mad, yeah, so I give him a little kick in that big fat gut. Even George the Animal Steele felt that one, yeah. And the elbow to the back of that shiny bowling ball head of his. And I backed him over into the ropes, you know what? And I thought I put the squeeze on his nose. Yeah, cut off that oxygen.
I think he squeezed your nose.
Yeah, because he hasn't got one original thought in his dim little brain of his. Yeah, the brain scan proved it. George the Animal Steele copied the Macho Man. He grabbed my nose. He tried to rip it right off. Yeah, he's probably going to just chew on it right then and there. I'm trying to have a wrestling match, and George the Animal Steel couldn't wrestle his way out of a paper bag, yeah. But I gave him an elbow, gave him what for, gave him a rattle, yeah. Gave him some cobwebs to clear. More punches get traded, yeah, and I don't even feel him. I don't understand why he keeps trying to hit me, because I'm impervious.
That's not what it looks like to us.
Well, that's your opinion, yeah. Once again, I heard Elizabeth crying for help, so I had to get out of the ring, yeah, to go help my woman.
Didn't George just throw you out?
No way! No, I decided to take a little, little expedition, into the lumberjack territory to defend Elizabeth.
Kind of looks like you were on the run from Ricky Steamboat.
Steamboat had no business getting in my face, If he keeps it up, I'll give him what for. The dragon's gonna be at the Macho Man's supper tonight. Yeah, we're having dragon soup. And them bulldogs better stay out of my way. I'll make sure they never see the belts again. I get back into the ring to take care of business.
Did you notice that Kimchi came out with Honky Tonk Man? They're both the same place at the same time.
I didn't see that. No, I was paying attention to George Animal Steel. Didn't see the Kimchi and the
Your good friend Honky Tonk Man.
I'll take care of Honky Tonk later. And you see right there, George the Animal Steel thinks he's gonna ram my head into the turnbuckle, but I got a better idea. Yeah, the last second I push him off, and the animal eats that turnbuckle. Smart thinking by the Macho Man, quick as a cat, yeah. And now you can see the superiority of the Macho Man, yeah, taking over. I've got the advantage on George the Animal Steel. I tie him up on the ropes, clean as clock, yeah, punch him, left, right. And then right there, I'm about to finish everything. George the Animal Steel is gonna fall victim to my elbow, but Ricky the Dragon interferes and saves that hairy bozo. He has no business doing that, getting involved. Jack, tell me I want Ricky the Dragon Steamboat removed from the Federation and give me back that belt, yeah. A few shoulders to the midsection of that George the Animal Steel, yeah. He responds with a cheap shot to the nose. A false sense of security. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right there. I'm playing possum, letting them think he's in charge, but the Macho Man's always in control. That's when the Macho Man climbs up to the top rope. Yeah, and I come down with the double axe handle across that George the Animal Steel. Look at him run away. Yeah, like a little baby rabbit. George the baby rabbit Steel run away. And then he goes and he picks a fight with the lumberjacks, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're not very nice. They start booting him.
He went up there and started talking smack to the lumberjacks, and they're not going to have it.
He attacked their boots with his stomach?
That's exactly it. If the Macho Man said it was so, then that's the way it happened, yeah. Dig it. George the Animal Steel was getting his clock cleaned by all my lumberjacks, the lumberjacks. And then some redneck with the 2x4 gets in the ring, chasing around shaking Volkov. Get out of there, Duggan. After the ring is cleared, Duggan is escorted from the area. They have a little TV ad. Yeah, time to snap into a Slim Jim. Dig it. I don't know what it is about George Steele, but everybody just wants to punch him in the head like Danny Davis right there. Yeah, he was asking for it, so Danny bops George. One more time, the Macho Man squares off against the animal, and yeah, what's he do? He rakes my eyes. Yeah, of course he does, because he's nothing but a cheat. Yeah.
Isn't he just fighting fire with fire?
He started it. I'm starting to think that you're on the animal side. Yeah, you're biased. Yeah. And then I, decide to take a look around. I went up and had a little peek from the great heights. Or you could say he was choking me.
Pretty sure he just lifted you straight off the ground.
Might have been what happened. Yeah, it was hard to breathe up there, cutting off the oxygen. The Macho Man is used to the being up where the eagles soar, yeah. And then, like the wild animal that he is, George Steele starts eating the turnbuckles, yeah. It's like, got horsehair in there, very irritating to the eyes, yeah. He takes the Macho Man who's blinded and he throws my head into that unprotected steel. So I kicked him for it. Yeah, kick into the guts. And the suplex. But he's so big and fat, I could barely get him up.
It wasn't much of a suplex.
And I dropped myself on top of the animal with a Pedro knee. Clap. Snap. And then George the Animal goes out to hug the dragon.
He's looking for some support.
Finally, George the Animal gets back into the ring with the Macho Man. I decided, just to, I'd had enough of that dragon, yeah. So I went over there to tell him to get out of here, yeah. Challenge him again for the belt. And next thing
Pretty
you
sure
know...
George just threw you out of the ring.
That's not what happened. No way. That's not how I remember it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to throw you out of the ring in a minute.
And wasn't Steamboat just doing his job as a lumberjack to put you back in the ring?
His job is to give me a title shot rematch. Yeah, that's the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's job. His one and only mission in life is to keep that belt just long enough for me to get it back from him. So he'd better not cause trouble, because I need him to beat Hercules tonight, yeah, so I can take that belt back. So I went up there to explain that to him, and he attacked me, yeah, for no good reason.
Pretty sure you hit him first.
Well, I had to fight back. Yeah, I am the Macho Man. Retaliation. You want to start something with the Macho Man? Bam! I hit him back, and he's laying on the ground. 1, 2, 3, out cold. Macho Man's flexing the guns, looking pretty good. Yeah. Meanwhile, I got a feud to settle back into the ring. So now that I laid out the dragon, I'm gonna get back in there and finish off George Steele. He'd rather have a fist fight, and that's okay with me, because I will beat up George the Animal Steel just like I beat up the Bulldogs and beat up Ricky the Dragon and beat up anybody that gets in my face. I'll take all the time I want to get back into the ring. I beat up everybody in the WWF, and then I'm going to beat up all the fans here in South Bend, Indiana. There's one thing the Macho Man's not going to do, and I'm not going to bite that dirty animal because I don't want to get a tetanus shot. I'm afraid of what kind of parasites the animals got flown around that bloodstream. So I hit him. Now, it may have sounded like a ring bell, but no, that was me just clocking George the Animal's jaw.
Look, things got out of hand. All the lumberjacks were fighting. Everyone was in the ring. Steamboat was laying you out until Hercules came and saved you.
No way.
And then that no good down low Danny Davis brought the ring bell in and hit George Steele. You wouldn't have won otherwise.
I didn't see that happen. All I remember is that I climbed up to the top rope and dropped the big elbow. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, winning the feud. Yeah, that's the end of George the Animals. Who's Danny Davis? I don't even remember him. Never heard of that guy in my life. Danny who? What? Can't say that I know the name. And that is when the dragon attacked me again.
That's right.
For no good reason.
You deserved it.
Macho Man finishes off George the Animal Steel. For good and all. He's going to retire and just be a road agent from now on.
And from that point, it looks like everybody gets in the ring. We got a full-out Donnybrook. It looks like a battle royal in there.
And Macho Man beat up everybody, including the heels.
That's not true.
I stood tall over everybody. Elizabeth had to pull me off.
A man you're afraid of, Jake the Snake, came out.
No way. I'll make a belt buckle out of him. Yeah, pair of boots. Macho Man wins the impromptu battle royal. Yeah. I remember beating Jake the Snake 1, 2, 3 right here on Saturday Night's Main Event.
Jesse declared Damien the winner of the Battle Royal.
Damien, yeah. Well, I tell you what. Damien is a boa, and the boa goes around your neck, and the neck is connected to that big dumb skull. George the Animal Steel is going on my trophy wall. Yeah, I'm going to put him above the mantelpiece. Yeah, and all the little Macho Man kids will say, who's that animal? And I'll say, I finished him up in South Bend, Indiana. Saturday Night's Main Event. Yeah.
Well, you did win the match. We're taken to a segment with Mean Gene Okerlund, and it's a couch segment. We got Heenan with his neck brace looking uncomfortable and weaselly, and the big man in his rock and wrestling outfit, the suit, Andre the Giant, looking not impressed. And there's basically, it's a really simple interview segment, and Heenan's just basically throwing out all these claims that, like, the refs were in Hogan's pocket and Jack Tunney's on his side and everything was working against them and Joey Morella was cheating the ref, and we go through the footage. And we do get to see the 3 count, which becomes, quite famous for, like, even by February 88, like, by the main event, like, Jesse's really, that's what he's latching on to, is the fact that, like, Andre actually won the first match.
Right.
In the opening moments, like, in the first 20 seconds, Andre got a 3 count, and it's pretty great because the camera angle is such that you can't see Joey Morella's hand, whether he pulls up short or whether he, does the 3 count or not. But there is a really funny moment because Mean Gene's contesting what Bobby Heenan's saying, and Bobby Heenan goes full Bryan Cranston. It's Godzilla. Bobby Heenan's like, you're lying.
Love it.
Oh, yeah, it's super funny. And he wants them to strip Hogan of the championship and give his man a rematch, or just give him the belt. Just give this belt to this man. I love it. It's so
Very
good.
compelling argument.
Yeah.
He counted to 3. You saw it. 93,000 saw it. Millions saw it.
Wait a minute there. The referee is reinforcing his decision. He only came up with a 2 count.
Oh, he's lying. He's lying. The man counted to 3. You saw it. The people saw it again.
So from there, we're going to go to a best 2 out of 3 falls tag team championship match, the match that should have taken place at WrestleMania 3.
Absolutely.
And it's, when we're talking in this era, best 2 out of 3 fall tag team matches, it's got to involve the Bulldogs.
Yep.
Remember the Cleveland European rules, as Jesse put it, when they fought the Dream Team in the best 2 out of 3 falls?
Is that what he said? I'd forgotten.
Yeah, he got mad that because that's the one where the Dream Team wins the first fall. So he's mad that they're not already the champs. And he's like,
oh, right.
What are the stupid Cleveland European rules?
Right, yeah.
It's pretty good. So right away, we got this big crowd shot of the ring. We can hear, not very well, but we can hear the Bulldogs music. And the camera comes in low to the ground, like, some kind of action football like thing when they come out of the tunnel or whatever. But what we see is Matilda. We get the great shot of Matilda coming out with the Bulldogs and with Tito Santana. They're not coming out empty-handed. They're not coming out with their backs, leaving their backs open. So they got a man who's going to be there to stop some of this cheating that the Hart Foundation's been doing. And this is where we get the look that you mentioned in one of your matches we reviewed recently, which is the red tights, the red long tights. It's got the blue style where the trunks are, like where the trunks would be, and then the Union Jack on the back. I have to correct myself because when we were talking about that, I said at WrestleMania 3 they wore those trunks. They wore the white version of those trunks at WrestleMania 3. So the white legs and the blue trunks and the Union Jack on the back. So just gotta get it right.
They look great.
Oh yeah, they look ready to come out and kill.
Yeah,
their
physiques are so similar but different, but they're both like such great.
And they've trimmed down their hair. Like Dynamite's hair is really short, and Davey Boy's is pretty short. He doesn't have like the WrestleMania 2 perm. He's got like pretty keeping it pretty tight. And we get a Duggan inset promo where he's basically just threatening Volkov for singing his anthem and taking up Hogan's claim from the second Saturday Night's Main Event that No Good Commie's not going to be singing his song on his watch, that kind of stuff. So we know that's coming up. When they come back from commercial, the Chiron shows, we got the 2 logos, and one of them kind of fits your thing. It's the Broken Heart logo, Jimmy Hart's Broken Bones, whatever club band.
That's it.
There you go. And it says Hart Foundation, of course, and the British Bulldogs is British with the Union Jack in the middle and Bulldogs underneath. So some simple logos, but they're good. They're effective. And we're going to go to an interview with Mean Gene in the back, and we've got that same foursome with Danny Davis and Jimmy Hart and the Hart Foundation, and they're laughing and really putting on for the interview. And Mean Gene's very disgusted with them, and he's just complaining. It's really great. He's accusing them of every cheating tactic under the sun, and Jimmy Hart's really mocks him with a "Thank you, Mean Gene," and just really not taking anything for granted. Jimmy says the Crybaby's the British Bulldogs, and they'll have their shot tonight. And Gene says, they won't have a fair shot with this man, Danny Davis. And it's great because Danny Davis loses his mind and they have to restrain him.
I know.
He goes after Gene.
It's like they're all having such fun, laughing and smiling. And then suddenly, it's like, exactly. He turns psycho. The party dies.
And they carry him out of there. And it's really great because Gene's like, all his years he's never been so viciously and rudely treated. And I'm just thinking, like, if Mean Gene was in this position in the Attitude Era, think of all the bumps he would have had to take.
Right. Yeah. They got.
Probably would have been part of the Kiss My Ass Club. Probably would have got peed on.
Jeez. Yeah. All that gross stuff.
That's right.
I'm glad Gene didn't have to suffer.
Exactly. So the Harts enter the arena to no music again, like this big part thing, right? Like the majority of wrestlers didn't have music.
You're right.
And so and of course their music's really tied to the good guy version of them. The heel Hart Foundation music just doesn't that didn't work.
I mean, I really can't remember. Did Bret Hart change his music once he went from tag team solo?
Not exactly. He kept the same music, but at some point they did change his music. The original Hart Foundation music is different than what he's using, let's say, in like the Attitude Era. But it's like the same song, but just very similar, but different. And then they changed it again when he came, way after the fact, when he came back out of retirement, to have his match against Vince McMahon and the stuff. That sad debacle. That music again was different.
Right.
And he didn't even know it was going to be different. I've heard him talk about that. He's waiting to come out through the tunnel, and all of a sudden he hears the ring? He's like, that's not the way it goes.
Okay, there it is. Fine, that's I couldn't remember it, and then it's kind of like the melody there.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a crunchy guitar riff, and then like a little bit of synthesizers come in towards after the crunchy guitar.
Right. And it's tied like to those early home video game releases of WWF games that Bret Hart was in, because like the music would, if you're on like the intro screen or something, like you're picking your wrestler, and then when you highlight the wrestler, you hear their theme song. So just like hearing his song over and over and over again or something.
Okay,
but so their Hart Foundation are about to climb in the ring, and the camera works really good because Matilda's waiting. She's like, she's in the blocks for the 100-yard dash. She's waiting. Yeah, and as soon as they get in, it's awesome. Matilda does her job perfectly. She chases Jimmy Hart around the ring. Yeah, and Vince McMahon's like, get him. And he loves it. And Jimmy Hart's like, good thing he's light of feet and pretty agile, because like he almost crushes Matilda. He almost ends up like falling on her pretty hard, but he manages to sort of not drive his knee into her back and like fall out of the ring, and it's really great. He looks so accosted.
Right. Well, there is a little tear in his pants.
Yeah, you have to figure they probably gimmicked that before he even went out, but it's great. It's a great example, that he can point to this, and she's chewing on his megaphone. Right.
Well, I mean, I've been nipped by a dog and gotten a tetanus shot because they broke the skin, like it's like somebody's like, well, you better go get your shot because the dog bit you and drew blood, and I always remember thinking like, what kind of people let their dogs go and biting people, and then you got to get a shot, and they're like, oh, she does that, and I'm like, and I got to go get a fucking needle because your dog does that.
Yikes. So McMahon's quite orgasmic over this whole situation. He just loves seeing Jimmy Hart take any kind of punishment, and it's pretty good. So we get into it. It's the first fall, and Davey Boy Smith's going to start out against Bret Hart. Jesse's really looking forward to this great matchup and these great athletes and stuff like that. He's sort of, he's not quite as, it's funny, he's not as biased against the Bulldogs as he is against most good guys.
Okay, yeah.
So they lock up, and Davey Boy Smith, the more powerful man, easily pushes Bret Hart off. It's not even close. And Bret immediately goes for the knuckle lock. But he's smart. He doesn't want to go for a test of strength, so he immediately uses his foot to, release one of the two hands. He steps on Davey Boy's hand, basically.
Well, they're kind of higher up. So I thought it was his knee. He uses his knee to rake across the knuckles.
I thought it was his foot, but it's same result. He uses his leg. Let's say that. That way we're not wrong. To break the grip. And he winds up the other arm. And this is a great Davey Boy spot. He does this a lot. So Davey Boy, works for a second to try and get out of the arm ringer. He does a front roll. He does a back roll. He does a front hand spring and lands on his feet. And then he reverses, winds up Bret Hart. And so that was like really cool.
So acrobatic for such a guy who looks so strong.
Yes, exactly. Pound for pound, like definitely one of the strongest guys.
They're in the appeal of the Bulldogs, like, the acrobatics plus, the strength.
The strength, yeah. Exactly.
Like such a balance between the two.
And here we go. It's time for the Brutus Beefcake ride. He's got Hitman's arm locked out. And the great thing with Hitman is he's so much lighter and so much more agile than Beefcake. So he really goes up in the air. And he comes down like a flat back bump. It looks like a crazy, it's like a choke slam, but with the arm instead. Like he just slams him down.
Very nice.
And he's got him pinned down on the ground, and he gives him back-to-back driving knees into the bicep, and Jesse's like, really, that looks really deadly. And it's funny, I think at some point he starts talking to McMahon about, I wish you would feel that, like, you've never felt that, McMahon.
Yep.
McMahon's like, well, I don't really, it's okay that I haven't felt that. It's like, he doesn't really want to.
It's funny, McMahon obviously got so big that, like,
yes,
that he was able to get beat up by the wrestlers and survive.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that was part of his thing, because, like, famously Kevin Kelly, Nails, like, beat the crap out of him as he quit the, and Bret Hart took. So Vince McMahon, I guess, part of the reason, vanity, but also occasionally these guys are going to turn on me.
That's right. Yeah,
I got to be tough enough to take a beating.
Yeah, for sure. So at this point, Bret Hart shows us some of his own athleticism. He does a nip up, gets up to his feet, and grabs Davey Boy in a headlock. Holds that for a second. Davey Boy pushes him off, does a leapfrog, and then rolls backwards on his back so that he can catch Bret Hart as he's bouncing off the ropes with his feet to catapult him into the air. It's almost like sort of like a monkey flip, but not like a traditional out of the corner monkey flip. It's this sort of weird catch you backwards. Hopefully everyone can imagine that. But Bret Hart goes for this huge ride, big somersault. takes the big flat back bump. It's really awesome.
All these skills they polished in Canada, everybody.
That's right, in Calgary.
Probably frosty winters, much like, well, Calgary's a little less cold. They get these things called Chinooks.
Yeah, the mountains, the
I've
warm
lived
air comes down.
Yeah, but I've also had some cold winters
yeah.
in Calgary personally.
Yeah.
Like, I traveled there myself, and people would say, like, they tore down a hotel. This is where the Hearts used to party, and now there's an apartment building. So
Yeah.
apparently I worked right across the street from where everybody used to drink.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I worked with younger people, so I didn't hear many of those stories.
Yeah, for sure. So Davey Boy's back on the arm, and Brett quickly pushes him off and attempts this big clothesline, but Davey Boy's quick as a cat, and he ducks that clothesline, and he slings his body around up into the crucifix position, real tight, and gets Bret Hart down for a 2 count. They're back up and moving quick. There's a shoulder tackle. Boom, Bret Hart goes down. That leads to a follow-up attempt, but this time Bret Hart does the drop down. Davey Boy goes over, and the camera angle swings around perfectly to catch Davey Boy coming in and catching that, devastating knee to the stomach, and he does, the big flip. He's, again, Davey Boy so agile, he can take bumps as good as, these smaller guys.
Right.
So there we go. The Hart Foundation is dug in. They've nailed him, and it's, their turn to finally get the offense. So Anvil's tagged in for the first time, and Jim gets hold of Smith's very short hair, and he does the classic Bulldogs Hart Foundation spot, which is the hair whip. So basically, Davey Boy's on his butt, and Jim Neidhart wrenches him up into the air as best as he can, and shakes him out like a towel,
right,
snapping him down to the ground.
Well, Barry Darsow was talking about how strong Neidhart is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I never really thought about him. I just heard people reference it, but you look at him, he hasn't got any kind of sculpted physique.
No,
so you're like, how could he?
But again, let's think back to the Ken Patera look when he's setting world records in weightlifting. He doesn't look impressive physically as far as his physique goes,
but he looks
he's
better
got power.
Right, but he does still, even in his kind of 1972 bookworm fat kid, world's strongest man look. He simultaneously looks like someone that so incongruent with what he was actually doing with his life. But anyway, so Darsow said that he could maybe work his way up to a 500-pound bench press, but he'd have to go through the different weights, demolition, smash.
Yes.
But Neidhart could just come in, get onto the bench, and do 500 right away from cold.
Yeah,
was his story, and I just thought it didn't ever really particularly sell, in WWF. But they would say,
he was the power man of the group.
They would say that, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just sort of to make up for his lack of impressive physique, they'd say, he's a strong man. But I always remember, he doesn't look any stronger than Greg Valentine or anybody, But of course, Greg Valentine will tell you, he's a wrestler, not a bodybuilder.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So at this point, McMahon's pointing out the problems with Danny Davis, but the Tito's there to take care of him. And then Jesse has this great little line. He's like, I forgot Chico was hanging out. And this man, of course, with his Tito.
Yes. Yeah. And it turns out it will be a good thing that Tito's hanging out.
That's right.
We'll discuss that. The last match of the card will lead to a bit of Tito talk.
That's right.
Even though he's not in it.
So Anvil's in with a few blows and a choke into his corner. Joey Morella's the ref. He's admonishing him as Bret Hart takes over the choking behind the ref's back. They're doing all the classic Hart Foundation cheating tactics. So the Hart Foundation doesn't have Davis in the ring to actually, win the match for them this time. They got to do it themselves, right? There's an actual ref, not a teammate, who's there to sabotage the whole thing. So it's gonna take more than what it took in those previous couple of matches for them to get the best of the Bulldogs. So Anvil's got more blows. Hart comes back in, and as they want to listen to Jimmy Hart. We want to hear him on the megaphone. Jesse's like, "Shut up, McMahon. He does a better play by than you, anyways."
Yeah.
And then all we get is, "You're a crybaby." He's just insulting the Bulldogs.
I love
and that's when McMahon's like, "I wish Matilda had eaten that megaphone alive."
Jimmy alive. You said megaphone.
No, he does say megaphone.
Does he?
Yeah.
Well, I thought he said he wanted to see. Okay, I just thought
because they made a note of how do you eat a megaphone alive?
Okay, all right. Maybe I.
Come on, you big crybabies. That's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying.
That megaphone is so annoying. I wish Matilda had eaten it alive.
So Bret Hart, during this whole little sequence, he gets in his classic cradle backbreaker, a 2 count. Hart does his standing leg drop where he sort of just, measures you and just drops down. I'm not too sure Terry Bollea in the back is liking to see anybody else using a leg drop, but there it was. It wasn't a running leg drop, so I guess that makes it a little bit different. Davey Boy's rammed into a neutral corner head first, and then Bret Hart whips him to the opposite corner and charges in hard. And he takes a hellacious bump. Davey Boy managed to springboard up similar to Jake the Snake in the first match, get his feet up in the air and Bret Hart, just one of the greatest sellers of all time, just destroys himself, runs himself into those boots, and just looks like he's been run over by a car. And Davey Boy struggles down the ropes for the hot tag, and we get for the first time Dynamite Kid, and in he comes. So very quickly now Bret Hart's going to do his other great corner bump, which is the sternum first. It doesn't look like it has all the power on it, some of the other great ones, but it still looks good. And now we get the proper, true hair whip. We get that greasy hair, and Dynamite's able to get Bret Hart way off the ground with that. Whip him out. That's always the best version, is basically Dynamite whipping Bret Hart is the best version of these four guys doing this to each other.
Yeah. Probably polished and perfected in Calgary.
That's right, exactly. So Dynamite Kid stands him up and gives him like this short clothesline, which actually almost knocks Dynamite over. It looks a little clumsy. And here's where we're starting to kind of notice, like, Dynamite's probably really not moving as well as I want to remember he did at this point. Like, I watched that match 120 times. I don't think I ever considered knowing way too much about him now, about all the injuries. Now you start to like see, this,
right.
And you kind of see things in a way you didn't see as a teenager, early 20s. He gets a 2 count off that clothesline, and then he picks him up, and it's snap suplex time. And you see, it's great. There's a couple of kids in the crowd that just lose their mind. They're just like, they see it coming. As soon as he hooks the arm, they know that suplex is happening. They're super excited. Another 2 count, and McMahon can feel it. He thinks the title's coming to the Bulldogs any moment now. So Dynamite drops his falling headbutt, and then Anvil's in to hit Dynamite Kid to break up the count. And then Davey Boy comes in basically to, fight off Anvil. And similar to their non-title match when the Bulldogs were still the champs, it looks very similar. Davey Boy comes in, Anvil just gives him like a knee to the gut because Davey Boy's still too beat up from the previous damage, chucks him out of the ring. And Danny Davis, that weasel, he's over there stomping on him. And I love it because Jesse, instead of trying to deflect or lie about what happened, he's like, he's just fine with it. He's like, yeah, he's putting the boots to him. Like McMahon's like, get him out of there. It's really great.
Yeah, no denying it. What can I say?
Tito springs into action. So he's chasing them around the ring, and they're using this entire time. They're choking and stomping on Dynamite. It's like this assault. And Joey Morella's staying with them. So you see Joey counting, and Davey Boy's out on the apron, basically not able to get back in. Tito eventually chases Davis through the ring and then stops, and the bell rings. And we find out that it's a DQ situation for this, not break the double team on Dynamite. And Tito comes over and shoves them both off. And they announce the fall goes to the Bulldogs. And Danny Davis is grabbing his head, so worried, oh no, it didn't work, it backfired. They lost the fall. And we go to a commercial break. Once they come back, we see that still Dynamite Kid and Bret Hart in the ring as the fall starts, and they're ramming Dynamite's face into Anvil's boot from the apron. Dynamite Kid is being punched and punished by the big Rhino. He comes in, and at this point, Dynamite's bleeding from the nose, and he's being choked. So we kind of spot that fairly early on. He's got this bloody nose. It's
oops.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was. It definitely just an accidental, hard way. He just got caught with something, like a punch actually landed a bit too hard, or
I wonder.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for sure, because that's not when it comes from the nose. That's like an accident.
Exactly. Yeah. So Bret is tagged in, and we get the Hart Foundation version, the original, to be honest, the Demolisher. So looks
great.
Yeah, Anvil puts Dynamite over his knee. Bret Hart goes up. It's funny. He says, McMahon's like, Bret Hart on the top rope, second rope. And I'm thinking, no, he's on Bret's rope.
Yeah,
and exactly. He comes off with the elbow.
Feet on the second rope, and butt on the turnbuckle.
They go for the pinfall. It's a 2 count, and there's a weak kick out. But at this point, as Bret Hart goes to stand Dynamite Kid up, he rallies. It's really good. He's on his knees, but he gives a hard punch to the gut, bending Bret Hart over, and then a headbutt which knocks him down to the ground, and then this vicious punch that knocks him back down, and he's crawling desperately, so close to tagging Davey Boy, and the crowd's going nuts, and Bret Hart's just holding on for all of his life to Dynamite's leg, and he's able to reach back and tag in Anvil. And Anvil comes sliding in and puts this front face lock on. And then when I watched it again, it looked like Dynamite's nose was bleeding even more after that. I think when Anvil slides around and almost dives on top of Dynamite, I think he smushes his face, into the canvas. Because that's when I noticed a little blood, and then I noticed a lot of blood.
Yeah.
So Dynamite's still trying to get, to the tag with Anvil holding on to him. So it's getting a little too close. So Bret Hart runs across the ring, gives Davey Boy a kick. And this is the sucker chase. So Davey Boy chases Bret Hart, which leads to him chasing Bret Hart, Danny Davis, and Jimmy Hart around the ring in a full circle, while Anvil chokes Dynamite for the entire time. And Tito's not helping. Tito actually lets them run by. It was like, Tito, you're like Peter Parker in the origin story. It's like the guy's running by with the loot, and you're like, grab him, stop him.
That's right. He's gonna go kill Uncle Ben.
Trip him.
Anything.
So once that stops and everyone gets back into their corners, Anvil's biting the damaged nose, and Bret Hart sneaks in this like really sneaky forearm from the outside. So Morella takes Anvil away, admonishing him for his biting, and that's when you see Bret Hart coming in. It's interesting because the crowd really boos it. It's like there's this noticeable like Bret Hart pounds Dynamite from the outside on the back, and the crowd's like, boo! Like really mad at him for this cheap shot. So this is where Bret Hart ties up Dynamite's arms in the ropes, and he's going to give him the finishing blow. So he runs the ropes, dives for what I assume was a drop kick, but Dynamite springs out of the way, and Bret Hart does what he does best, crotches himself on the top rope.
Right. Yeah, hung out to dry like so much laundry.
That's right. And it's so great because Jesse says, wait a minute, the Hitman is hurt. The referee should maybe take a time out here for let him recover.
What? Time out for being hurt? That's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
New rules.
And we get the hot tag. And in comes the healthy bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. And it's interesting because Anvil just comes in and totally just takes over the spot. There's no tag, but they just totally go from that point on as if Anvil's the legal man. But no problem. Davey Boy's like, I'll just kick his ass too. So Davey Boy comes in with this really neat, really cool like drop kick. He runs across the ring, the full length of the ring, jumps in the air. It's kind of like a one-footed drop kick where he nails Anvil with it really well, but he also lands on the other foot. Like he doesn't, it's not a Jim Brunzell go up and crash, on the mat yourself. It's like jump up in the air, kick, but then like land all, agile on your feet.
God, sounds like Karate Champ.
Exactly, yeah, it's really cool. So he picks up Anvil, whips him off the rope, runs into him with his reverse elbow. Anvil doesn't go down, but he's totally stunned from it. And then Davey Boy does this awesome, like, standing drop kick, but it's more the missile drop kick style where he goes, like, back first. He just, like, goes straight up in the air. And I actually accidentally paused it at this point, and I was like, I didn't realize how high Davey Boy got up in the air. Like, they're standing right beside each other, and Davey Boy's, like, up in the air, and, like, his back and his butt are, like, basically up at, like, Anvil's, chin or something like that. Like, he's, like, really high in the air. It looks super awesome. There's another whip off the ropes, and this massive running clothesline. Jim Neidhart takes it like a champ, soars through the air. Davey Boy gets the 2 count. Davey Boy lets the crowd know he's in charge, and he signals for it. And yes, he's going to do it. The standing vertical delayed suplex on the big Rhino, the big Anvil, holds him up there forever, drops him down. It's really beautiful. Anvil impressively kicks out of it. It's it's mid-80s here, so that I would understand if you got pinned off of that because that's just the way things went back then. Davey Boy takes a handful of Jim Neidhart's beard, whips him off against the ropes, but he goes to the well too many times, and he ducks over for that back body drop, and Jim Neidhart kicks him in the face. So basically, Jim pushes Smith into the corner now, and Bret holds the arms, and Anvil's hammering away, and Jimmy's great here. He's got the megaphone, and you can hear him like, hit him, hit him, hit him, hit him. He's just like, he's just having like an aneurysm out there or something. So Morella's trying to get them to break up the double team. Dynamite comes in to distract Morella. So now now the Hart Foundation have Davey Boy at their mercy. So Bret Hart's holding Davey Boy's arms from the outside into the ropes, and Neidhart backs up, and he's measuring him for that like knockout blow. So he gets a good lead, and then he runs in for the big running forearm. But Davey Boy gets out of the way, and Bret Hart takes a huge bump to the outside into the cage, like into the barricade on the outside. He's down and out. Jimmy Hart's checking into him. The ref is still trying to get Dynamite out of the ring, and this is where Danny Davis decides to get up on the apron. But it's a flashback to pre-WrestleMania III and the Dan Spivey Tito match where Davis got up on the apron. So Tito gets in the ring and does that awesome, it's not the flying forearm, but it's the running punch. And it just looks so awesome in the crowd, and Vince McMahon and myself watching, it's that same guttural reaction of just like, yeah, fucking nail him. And he takes a great bump off the apron and goes down. So that gives us an awesome moment here.
Danny Davis in his tuxedo tail jacket referee striped outfit. Those long Joker tails.
So Davey Boy immediately clubs Neidhart on the back of the head, and Neidhart takes a great bump off it, spins to the middle of the ring, and Davey Boy staggers back to his corner and points to Dynamite. In comes the tag. Military press all the way to the sky, to the top of that arena.
His own partner,
yeah. He picks up Dynamite over his head, and it's perfect timing. Anvil stands up and turns around just in time for Dynamite to be launched on top of him. Boom! Big flying body press. Slam. 1, 2, 3. And the place goes bonkers, crazy, apeshit.
It was, the crowd just fucking loses their mind. They were on their feet for pretty much all of this match.
Yeah, they were super into it. And this ending is just this explosion of joy and just final retribution that was like so deserved. And 1987 Corey for 6 seconds is it's the greatest night of wrestling ever, basically. Like, I couldn't possibly have enjoyed the WrestleMania 2 win as much as I would have enjoyed this. This was just like the top. And
I'm going to tell you for 6 seconds.
For 6 seconds, yeah. For 6 seconds, I'm just like, I got my champs back. It's like, I'm so excited. I'm so happy.
All your dreams come true.
All coming true. And the thing is that, like, at the end of WrestleMania 2, Dynamite's injured and laid out on the floor. Davey Boys can't even get up off the canvas. The celebration is Ozzy Osbourne and Captain Lou.
Right.
But this time it's the Bulldogs and Tito's with them, and they're just like, we're the champs, you know. And it's just like
amazing, incredible
it's so
moment.
good.
Well, never mind. 2024, Jeff was like, I don't understand. I know. I had that 6 seconds of like, what?
Yeah.
Like when his hand came down for the 3, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then when nobody says anything, I'm like,
right.
what?
And they're even sneaky with the announcement, eh? Like Fink's announcement's like, the winner of the winner of the match in 2 straight falls, the British Bulldogs.
And I'm just confused. I'm like, but they didn't win the.
So the camera, of course, people have watched this. It follows the Hart Foundation over to the timekeeper table, and they grab their belts. Yeah. And Jesse starts snickering, and he's laughing. Oh. And as a kid, I knew these rules, and they made sense. Okay, so. We're going to get into Corey's rant. Okay, so this is my problem. I have no problem with the fact that the title didn't change hands because there was a disqualification. That made sense. Up to that point in wrestling, that made sense.
Vince is like, I forgot all about
you're right.
that.
I forgot exactly.
He took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah,
it was like so perfectly summed up, but I was like, I forgot all about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's my problem. In 1989 and 1990, 2 tag teams in best 2 out of 3 falls win the titles after winning a fall by disqualification. Including the Hart Foundation.
Oh, no.
What the fuck? Like, they never explain these rules. It's fine to have rules, but like, it's just, why do they count here and not there? Bullshit. I want it. I want the record book to change. I want the Bulldogs to be declared 2-time champions.
I grant you that. Yeah. Wow. How bitter.
I always.
So years later, you see that, okay, now it's fine for these guys.
89, like, is the first time I saw it happen. It was on a Saturday Night event, and there's a tag title change. And I remember as soon as there was a DQ win for the challengers, I was like, oh, they can't win the belts now. This is the big swerve. Ugh. And then they get the belts, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why don't these rules apply for my guys?
Yep. Years later, you're still seething.
Oh, so mad.
And then decades later, still mad.
That's right.
What a match to get that Bulldog love again was a good feeling. I was confused, but I'm like, well, forget it. Just like, isn't this fun? Look at the crowd. Look at the Bulldogs here. Look at Tito and like.
If they should we've already said this, but I'll say it again. This should have been WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
Even with this, dusty finish. Imagine that that Pontiac Silverdome audience popping.
Oh my God! They would have rivaled Steamboat and Savage.
Oh, for sure. I said to this day, like, people love the Steamboat Savage match. It was so great, but I think the emotional investment, with the Bulldogs, it was a bit more recent. The Savage thing was actually dragged out so long because the injury to Steamboat was months and months earlier, whereas the Bulldogs, it was only a couple of months before WrestleMania 3, and they hadn't, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because of how much I like the Bulldogs, but I think, like, obviously I just would say, hey, just do the title change, just give the Bulldogs back the belts, figure something out, give them the belts at WrestleMania 3. Doesn't happen, fine. Then do this. Do this at WrestleMania 3.
Yep.
Best 2 out of 3 falls. And think of the match quality, because no one's going to go to the WrestleMania 3 Bulldog 6-man tag match with Tito against the Hart Foundation and Danny Davis and say, people say it's a fine match, but they're not going to be like, hey, that's one of the best matches of all time. But for that era, it would have been remembered as one of the best matches of all time if they'd done a best 2 out of 3 falls with, basically what we saw here.
Yeah, and it would have just made WrestleMania 3 all the better.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why the Bulldogs didn't at least get some sort of victory at WrestleMania 3 was the balance, right? Like, you've got this, I think it's 12 matches or whatever it is, and you've already got to go down the list. Well, Hogan's got to win. Steamboat's got to win. Piper's got to win. And then you see people like Jake and the Bulldogs. They're the good guys that have to take the loss, because you can't just have, you can't have every match can't be the good guys winning, right? Like, there has to be some balance to the card. And unfortunately for Jake, unfortunately for the Bulldogs, they kind of, end up on the short end of the stick to kind of, balance off the card. But God damn it, I want my Bulldogs WrestleMania 3 title win.
Yeah, it's not fair. They were only one-time champs when you think about the excitement and their quality of performance and other teams. It's too bad.
And just their impact on the sport and just the way people sort of idolized them and looked up to them and obviously didn't like all their backstage antics and stuff like that, but still can appreciate what they created in the ring and sort of it's just so neat. Okay, all right. I'll come down off my little perch there, my soapbox, and we'll continue on with this card.
A running start. Here he comes in. Oh, yeah, look at that.
He hit his partner, Bret Hart, down on the floor.
Jimmy Hart trying to revive it. Danny Davis up on the
Look
apron.
at Chico Santana illegally in the ring.
Beautiful
Look at
maneuver.
Chico in that ring, totally illegal, and referee Joey Morello lets him by with it.
The tag was made. Look at this. The legal man in the ring. The cover line. 2, 3. Look at that.
I don't believe it.
I can't believe it. Finally, it has come back to the British Bulldog. Finally, once again. Let's go to the ring announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the bout in 2 straight falls, the British Bulldog.
What a celebration here at the University of Notre Dame.
So we're going to hear from Mean Gene and Hulk Hogan.
All right, with me at this time, the heavyweight champion of the world, Hulk Hogan, successful in his ultimate title defense in WrestleMania III against Andre the Giant. Hulkster, I've got to believe that this victory was a little sweeter than most.
Well, whenever Hulkamania runs victorious, victories are always sweet. But in front of 93,000 people, the largest indoor crowd in history, Hulkamania was sweeter than ever.
Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant have made a number of accusations. As a matter of fact, Andre contends he is still undefeated and that he is indeed the heavyweight champion of the world. I'd like to have you address that a little bit later on. But first of all, Hulk, what was it like to lock up with 525-pound Andre the Giant?
Well, it was like the largest, the strongest power in the universe. And when I saw Andre the Giant, I knew I was up for the ultimate challenge. I knew I was ready to face the Weasel, the whole family, and especially the power of that nasty giant.
All right, we got comments earlier on from Andre the Giant and Bobby Heenan. I'd like to have you take a look at this footage. Here we are at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, 93,000 plus. And what are you saying to the Giant?
Well, right now, I was getting up right in his face, man. I was looking him in the eyes. I saw him tremble. I saw him shake a little bit. And I'm telling him right here, I don't fear you, big man. I don't fear what you stand for. Give me your best shot, Andre. Let's see who the real champion is. And right here, Andre responds, man. Push comes to shove. Push comes to shove. Now it's like trying to take the top off Mount Vesuvius. He wouldn't budge. He wouldn't move. And then when I shot underneath, when I went for the slam, he shifted his weight. Down I went. I thought for 1 minute Hulkamania was over. But when I saw that referee with only a 2 count, I knew what I had to do. I had to rise above. I had to take 93,000 plus Hulkamaniacs to the mountaintop with me, Mean Gene. And with all that, the psych I had on, and all those Hulkamaniacs, we know what went down in the Silverdome.
It had to be an absolutely brutal battle, but now Hulk Hogan. What about the comments from Heenan and Andre? They say you should be stripped of the title. If not stripped, you should be forced to once again defend against the big Frenchman.
Well, they can have an investigation if they want to. I don't care. Check out the footage. If they want a rematch, the Hulkamaniacs and I, we fear no man or beast. But as far as stripping me of that title, Andre the Giant, you gotta beat me 1, 2, 3. You can't complain to the WWF. You can't complain to all your fans on your side. You gotta face Hulkamania and Mean Gene. Now that I've felt the wrath of the Giant, now that I know the Heenan family can't handle Hulkamania, Hulkamania shall live forever, long after I'm gone.
All right, he is the heavyweight champion of the world, ladies and gentlemen. He is #1, Hulk Hogan.
Busy night for our man Hercules because he not only wrestles in a tag team match against Hulk Hogan and Ken Patera with his partner Andre the Giant, he's got a crack at the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat defending for the first time. So I've come to realize it's Gary Hart's fault. I didn't realize how tall he was, which is why I never realized that Hercules was a bigger man than, say, Paul Orndorff, Billy Jack Haynes, and the rest. But he is.
Yeah.
He's like much bigger than Paul Orndorff. And I mean, like 2 inches is a lot, or 3 inches, is quite a bit in this business. And so it was not until we looked back at Texas that I was like, whoa, that Gary Hart is really tall. You know? So the pictures of Hercules standing by Gary Hart didn't do Hercules any favor.
No.
And I didn't realize what a monster he really is. I mean, I remarked how Randy Savage is not as big as Ricky Steamboat, and Ricky Steamboat is not as big as Hercules.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. You know who else that was for managers wise? Slick. Like that's one of the problems with Slick. He's so tall. Like Slick is crazy tall.
Yep.
Which doesn't help managers, like you said. They want little managers to make the guys look bigger.
Definitely an angle to that. So the Dragon is wearing his full white tights this evening. A collar and elbow results in what Jesse Ventura accurately calls a poor choice by the Dragon. He decides to trade blows with the mighty Hercules.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, not a good idea. So Hercules, kind of just pushes him a bit so that he can land a forearm across the Dragon's back. The Dragon sells it, but responds with a quick chop across the chest.
Yeah.
And they just do this 3 times, which has kind of Ricky taking the worst of it, as he should.
Yeah, exactly.
And then one more. They do another, club to the back, chop to the chest. Finally, Hercules decides that, a knee to the midsection of the Dragon is the way to go. Then he delivers another clubbing forearm, this time to the small of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's back, which causes Ricky to do his whole arcing his shoulders and flexing and just kind of I'm in so much pain. Hercules delivers a punch to the Dragon's forehead, and then he takes and rams the Dragon's head into a top turnbuckle. Steamboat's trying to walk off this early damage. He's hurt, he's clenched up and tensed, and he's trying to shake it off. Hercules delivers another punch to the midsection and an Irish whip. Finally, the agile and acrobatic Ricky Steamboat has an opportunity to use those skills. He does a baseball slide nicely between the demigod's legs, and then he stands up quickly to deliver some beautiful drop kicks, 2 of them, boom, boom, and then he starts doing his offense, his strikes. He'll do a chop and then sort of a punch to the forehead and then a chop. Hercules begins to reel from the Dragon's offense. As a matter of fact, he hits to the floor and the comfort of Bobby the Brain Heenan, who's got that neck brace on.
Yeah.
So Ricky and it's funny because when Ricky follows, Hernandez leaves Bobby and goes for a walk.
Yeah.
So Ricky comes out and he does this whole hi-ya to Bobby, and Bobby starts going, ooh, ow, my neck, ow, ooh. She just points to his brace.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Ricky's such a baby-faced good guy, he can't just
beat up the manager.
No, not without some provocation first.
Exactly,
so he just goes to follow Hercules. He catches up with Hercules, gives him a chop, hits that forehead a few more times, and then gives him a huge atomic drop outside that Hercules is great seller. He's clenching his fists and gritting his teeth, Hercules, from this big atomic drop that he takes.
That's right, yeah.
And Hercules is, my respect and admiration for him grows as I realize how big he was. So he's doing a wonderful selling.
Yeah, he still looks so great here. Like this whole year, 87, he just looks perfect, just the best he ever looked.
Hercules gets back into the ring. Ricky follows him, hits him a few more times in the forehead, and then gives him a reverse elbow. Hercules is in the corner, and he decides to take things into his own hands by grabbing the front of Ricky's tights and then kind of falling back as he pulls the front of Ricky's tights forward.
Didn't you trademark.com that one?
Did I?
I think you did.
I forget.
Somebody's gonna have to go back in the archives and figure it out.
The drop pull, and so Ricky obliges. It might have been I think Tully did that to Ronnie Garvin.
Oh yeah,
maybe that's
it's
where
come up so many times. Yeah.
So I might have come up with the name for it, but anyway, so Ricky gets a drop pull
or whatever we called it.
Yeah. But the only upside is that he cools the boys a little bit. That's the only, a la Wahoo McDaniel. So you have a little ventilation as you go careening into the turnbuckle, and this stuns Ricky the Dragon, and Hercules stands up after this sneaky kick because it's an illegal maneuver, grabbing somebody's tights to pull them into the turnbuckle. Ricky takes the bump. Before the match began, I forgot to mention that this is a very Macho Man heavy episode. He was the first person we heard.
Right. Yeah.
He was in the lumberjack match, and now they've also shown us that Macho Man is paying close attention to this match. He's
watching on a monitor.
Yeah, he's dressed in half his his wrestling gear, but then his classic purple T-shirt, which I have.
Yes.
And then the white shades, of course, tie-dye do-rag.
That's right.
And he's watching in the locker.
Yeah.
Muttering and really concerned.
Sort of
that,
narrating it, but more to himself.
Yeah.
Even though he's on camera.
And Mean Gene's there, too. And so is Elizabeth.
And Elizabeth
She's
giving him a massage.
Yeah, trying to relax him. But he's really concerned that Hercules will win the belt.
That's the
angle.
Yeah, you finally realize that he's not cheering against Steamboat, he's cheering for him.
Yeah, this is murky waters.
He doesn't want anybody else to get the belt. He wants there to not be like too many names in between him and getting the belt back. It's like he wants it straight back.
So they cut to his audio and they're like, come on, do better than that.
Yeah.
Keep it for me. Save me that belt and take it all the way back. So there's a lot of that.
This is a strange observation, but it's more just because of the character and the way they portrayed her. So, and also because of the way they framed the picture. But like, so Elizabeth's massaging Randy Savage, and I think she's got like her wedding ring on, which is something it seemed like they had intentionally always left off, because it was always supposed to be this vague idea that like she wasn't his wife, she wasn't his girlfriend, she was like his valet, like. And so this is like the one time where I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute, did she forget, or
Astute observation, Dr. Watson. So they slow down the pace of the match a little bit in the ring. Even physical specimens like Ricky the Dragon and Hercules need to take a little rest, maybe a headlock or something, and, catch their breath. Actually, this wasn't a headlock rest. It was kind of like sort of a double collision. And the referee doesn't actually do the 10 count, but they're both taken, they're both sprawled. And Hercules gets to his feet first, and he starts delivering some really vicious kicks to the dragon's head. But what he does is he jumps into the air so that he can, get that wonderful percussive crash with his left foot as his right foot makes contact with Ricky's head. Right? But he's got to be so gentle to not be concussing these guys, you know?
Right.
So what a performer. Vicious. They just look, insane. And Steamboat's crawling on the mat. 3 of these crazy head stomps. And then he starts, laying some vicious knees into the back of Ricky's head while Ricky's on his hands and knees crawling around. So Hercules is just clobbering him. And you'd think Macho Man's loving that.
Exactly.
These attacks, Ricky's crawling, and then he's lying, but then he staggers to his feet and he's clenching his fist, shaking it off, and the crowd is cheering him so he can, clear all the fog and fight back. Hercules delivers an Irish whip and a clothesline that is so good, because the clothesline, he drops to one knee.
Yeah, that's the Hercules special, the one knee clothesline,
And then the double gun show.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's so good. And it just looks really, it's just great. Yeah, the Hercules special. Yeah. Just like you said. Wonderful. Meanwhile, Macho Man, save that belt. And then we get the agile. We have actually, I'm not sure if it doesn't say here, but Hercules is agile. He can climb up those ropes, no problem.
Yeah.
And he actually, I think, maybe later in the match, we'll see. But anyway, there is an elbow drop now, which results in a 2 count, but that's not a big elbow because I don't have it written.
No.
So, but it is a near fall. He picks up the poor battered dragon. Hercules delivers an Irish whip, and he decides he's going to do a sunset flip, which is an opportunity for a reversal of fortunes. And sure enough,
you need a back body drop.
Body drop. Mm-hmm. I certainly do.
Which leads to a sunset flip.
Often.
Yeah.
But in this case, it leads to a kick in the chest. You're pulling a regular Ken Patera with that phone over there. Is that fucking phone? Well, now they've done it. You're getting it now. This Ken Patera interview, the phone interrupts him so many times. The fans, it's hilarious because he just says, "Put it in the drawer," and you can still hear it. Tuk, tuk, it's like what's putting in the drawer, and then whatever point he's at in the story, he stops and glares at somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, "That my fucking phone," and it's like the 4th time he says, "Turn the fucking thing off." And meanwhile, there's comments on the thing. If you get $5 on the screen, it's like the phone is getting its own podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's like so many laughs just with
yeah.
Anyway. You gotta watch Ken Patera drinking beers and telling the Andre the Giant stories about the drinking contest, and the phone interrupts over and over again. Quite right. I wrote down sunset flip, but it's a back body drop attempt.
Yeah.
Which is an invitation to a sunset flip, or in this case, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat takes advantage of a bent over Hercules to kick him in the chest.
Yeah.
And then Ricky backs up, bounces off the ropes, and delivers one of those head strikes, which is kind of like a knuckle sandwich to the forehead. It looks kind of martial arts.
Yeah, martial, because he flattens out his palm and his knuckles.
It looks, that's right, like a Bruce Lee attack. Ricky the Dragon uses a flying mare or a snap mare all the way from the Texas Texas Funk Ranch, and Hercules is on the mat. But he sits up, and then I've got so many I can't even remember. Chop from up top is the new trademark. I guess since I can't keep track of my trademarks, I'll stop trademarking them. But where Ricky's behind you,
Yes.
you're sitting on your butt, and then he reaches way up to high in the sky and brings down the big coconut splitter. Hercules is selling that beautifully, but Hercules does manage to stand up, and while he's on his way up on one knee, he delivers a good punch to Ricky Steamboat's. He's always quick, Hercules, so he's able to take the advantage by slugging the dragon in the gut. Then he delivers kind of an uppercut to the throat while he's on his way up, and this staggers the dragon, who makes his way. He falls down, and he gets up and goes into the corner. Hercules goes in to press his advantage, and then Ricky the Dragon comes up and gives him a leg scissors around his neck, and then raises one leg and gives him a little bop from up top with kind of his calf, because if you use the bone, it might be hard to pull back.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, but what a kick this Hercules sells. He spins 180 and starts staggering around. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat will run that short, curly afroed head into a turnbuckle on the opposite side of the ring. And then we go right to the roll. No shake, no rattle. Ricky Steamboat gives him a swinging neck breaker, a couple of head chops, and Hercules decides it's time for an eye rake to kill the momentum of the dragon.
That's the Jesse Ventura special.
Yeah. And then, it's like Ricky, Ricky, for some reason, decides to do a scarecrow impression. He sticks his arm out in the Jesus Christ pose, which I wonder what's going to happen now. Like, invitation to a full Nelson. You've never seen anybody say, please put a full Nelson on me. So Ricky turns his back on Hercules and does his impression of the scarecrow in the field.
Yes.
Jesus Christ pose. And sure enough, Hercules slaps on the full Nelson.
Ah, yes. The one that he's taken over from Billy Jack Haynes.
Yeah, well, he's bigger and stronger than Billy Jack Haynes. Now, unfortunately, for Macho Man, it looks like this may
isn't
result.
gonna work.
Yeah, looks like this might be a title change. So he's like so upset.
Work for me, brother.
Yeah, super free. So Macho Man interferes.
Yeah, he proves that he's actually still there.
Yep. Ends up in the ring and grabs Hercules' ankle. And Bobby the Heenan's furious with Macho Man.
Yeah.
And even Hercules wonders what the hell's going on. So he lets go of Ricky, who drops to the mat.
He pulls Ricky's leg backwards into the ropes, which sort of would cause the ref to break it anyways, right? Like a foot in the ropes.
It's not a...
but it's also... Like
okay, right, that's right. It's not a violent trip.
No.
But it was enough to break the hold. Good point. Yeah. He does grab Hercules' ankles, and...
it's Ricky. I think he grabs Ricky's leg.
Okay, well, maybe.
Yeah. He grabs Ricky's leg between the legs and pulls it.
Okay, they must be wearing the same colored boots without their initials on them. Because either way, it's enough to break the hold.
Yeah.
So Hercules comes out and says, are you crazy? A lot of yelling, and Macho Man's pointing and, muttering at them, and he's kind of indefensible because, he might have just cost Hercules the title.
Yeah.
But
sounds like these two need to have a match in Philly next month.
Love to. And at this point, it's Purple City. Greg Valentine used to call Hercules Purpleys because of the color of his skin when he came back from and maybe the color of the lights in the locker room. But of all the guys, for some reason, he was the guy who looked the most purple after his matches because of the mix of his particular muscle enhancements and whatever. That was his rib, was Purpleys. And Macho Man's in his purple trunks and his purple shirt. So it's Purple City, which is also there's a neighborhood in Winnipeg where all the lamps are yellow, so the contrasting, everything kind of looks purple, know, when you have these yellow lamps. The TV ad breaks up the action a little bit. After some poses, I guess Hercules decides to show the Macho Man by climbing the top rope.
How you do it?
That's right. So this much huger man goes up to the top rope to deliver what at one point I think is he going to drop an elbow.
Right.
But it's definitely not a botch, but it doesn't look like Hercules is going to do anything except for jump onto the double knee.
A little closer to a body splash, but
Yeah, but
body splash by somebody who knows it's not going to work.
Yeah. And I guess Hercules is so big that he didn't want to
just land on him.
Yeah, so he lands on his feet, double knees, sells it great. And certainly for the 7 months we've been doing this show, now Hercules delivers the best body slam I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It could be the best body slam I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah.
The way he picks him up and
rotates him.
He doesn't drop him. Yeah. He puts him, into the basement with this. He just paints the mat with Steamboat. It looks so good. so easily. It almost looks like at one point, I mean, like Hercules picks up Ricky, and Ricky catches air, and all and all Hercules has got to do is just like, you know, give him a little rotate, you know, and then, you know, meanwhile now his upward momentum stopped. He's hovering in midair for a second, and he would just drop on his own, except for Hercules gets in there and then, like, you know, puts him 180 so that his back's gonna hit the mat, and then he finishes it. Like, he goes, if Ricky was coming down at 60 clicks, Hercules gets in there, is like, no, now it's 100. Boom! Like, so good. Yeah. I just, it's not a lazy body slam. That could be a finisher, the way that, like, it's not a power slam. It's not a running, it's just a, wow, so good.
Powerful slam.
A powerful slam. Miracle Violence Slam. Hercules, couple of steps back to lean against those ropes, get a little more momentum, stomps over and delivers a big elbow drop, but Ricky saves his life and his title and rolls out of the way and begins to recover. Ricky manages to his feet, and Hercules, after also returning to his feet, charges into the corner, probably looking for a shoulder tackle or something to splash or crush Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, but he has enough presence of mind to sidestep the charging the Greek demigod, and Hercules crashes into the turnbuckle. His target is out of the way. Now Ricky decides to target his ribs. He begins to get one of those big meaty arms out of the way and starts chopping and punching the short ribs of Hercules on his side and really focuses his attack. I don't really recognize this strategy, but it's commented on. Hercules is standing off balance from these chops to the ribs. Ricky's giving him some of his double chops as well. He's got lots of martial art moves where he's using knife edge, his the edge of his hands. Ricky whips Hercules into the corner. Hercules charges in, but does the 180 spin so that he takes the turnbuckle bump to the back and then staggers out. So now we have the momentum. And Ricky does another big chop to the chest. Hercules falls to the mat.
The big follow through.
Right. Now, Ricky's doing some flexing. And then he makes what looks like Hogan saying, "I'm going to slam Andre." Ricky does that. And I'm like, I don't know, why that now? Yeah. Instead, what we get is something that is reminiscent of a Muta springboard elbow, but not nearly as cool. Right. Ricky's looking at him from his left, and then he does a turn the other way, and look at him and chop him. And I'm like, okay.
A little spin.
Little kernels of an idea I mean, that's one of my favorite moves of all wrestling. Muta's springboard elbow.
Yes, the handspring, back elbow.
So cool. I mean,
cartwheel, handspring, back elbow.
Yeah. I mean, and all the other guys got to do is wait for it in the corner. So this looks like the germ of an idea of something really cool, but it's actually pretty weak and effective.
This is 30 years before the somersault into a clothesline.
And thankfully, I don't remember seeing it again where I see you from my left and I see you from my right. And chop you. Anyway, so karate moves, and he strikes Hercules in the head again, and then Ricky decides to go up to Brett's rope, feet on the second rope, butt on the top turnbuckle, and Macho Man is like, "That's it, yeah, keep it up, keep the momentum going." He's cheering on Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, from sort of ringside. He's backed off, but he's still in the area.
You can hear him. Yeah, he's not on the mic anymore. He's just shouting it.
Yeah.
Because who else is going to be saying that? So, and Ricky's punching Hercules while he's up there. 1, 2, 3. But then Hercules, the physics of it allows, he ends up grabbing Ricky Steamboat, and now Steamboat is prime position for a reverse atomic drop or a spine buster.
This is a devastating reverse atomic drop.
Yeah, but fortunately, Ricky takes it on his upper thigh.
He does, but I think the thing that makes it look so great is that normally an atomic drop
touch the mat.
Exactly. A normal reverse atomic drop, the guy lifts him, drives him down onto his feet.
On his feet.
Which sometimes is a way to block it, and otherwise is the way you take it. It kind of looks the same. But this one, Hercules sort of tucks Steamboat's feet, his legs into him, so that they're not touching the ground at all. So that the impact is from Hercules directly onto him and no feet landing. So it looks deadly.
Yes. So this is like a awesome match.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now we're going home because
for no reason.
Bobby throws a chain in.
Yeah, it makes no sense. You want to win the title or what?
Yeah.
No wonder you hardly had any titles.
Yeah, it's a bad choice. It's too bad because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it means
they should have done this after the match. They should have just let Ricky win the match and then maybe bring the chain out or something.
Yeah, so very poor choice. Hercules proceeds to wrap this chain around Ricky the Dragon's neck, and what do you think is going to happen?
It's 1985 again, and Ricky Steamboat's back to getting punished.
The Steamboat special. Naturally, there's a disqualification. Duh.
Yeah, and it's a bit clumsy actually when they put the chain around his neck and swing him around. The chain comes off, and you catch Ricky like he has to fight with the chain to get it back around his his neck. Otherwise, it's going to come off. Like, he's
right.
He's got to choke himself.
I didn't catch that little detail. So we have, but looks nasty. It's like the belt. It's like the bell. It's like everything. First, he's got one. Hercules is standing. And, by the way, McMahon let a Hernandez slip during the match.
Ah, yes.
Yes, he did. Hernandez. Yeah. And I went back and listened to it. I was like, confirmed. So I don't think I ever saw it written down, Hernandez. Like it would always be, if you ever saw Chiron or anything, you would.
Yeah, well, 86, he was. They would announce him as Hercules Hernandez, like when Slick, was like before he got sold to Bobby.
Oh.
But you're right. At some point, they kind of just dropped the Hernandez. But
standing while Ricky's on his basically on his gut, and just pulling back, and poor Ricky's given that suffering face that he's got so well, and then he starts doing like a camel clutch chain choke.
Yeah.
Experimenting with new ways to choke a man with a chain.
Yeah, that's right.
And people are like, yelling at Macho Man, save him, save him.
Yeah, exactly.
And Macho Man's wavering, but
what should I do?
Yeah, exactly. Will he? Won't he? Eventually, they give up beating on Ricky. No George the Animal Steel to save Ricky.
That's right, yeah.
No friends in the back.
I didn't think of that. George, what the hell?
Yeah.
Damn you, George.
So, Hercules comes out and they're celebrating because they have left Ricky laying.
Yes.
He flicks sweat at Macho Man.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I want that
fight. Chirps him. And they leave, so now Macho Man is doing this strange, like he's looking after Dragon, like he goes in there and making sure he's okay.
Yeah, it's very sneaky.
The commentator's like, I don't even understand why would
the crowd's cheering for him a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And then it's the last gasp of our beloved intercontinental heel Macho Man, Randy Savage. He climbs to the top rope and gives him a big elbow.
He fakes out Hebner. He pretends like he's leaving one side of the ring and goes behind Hebner's back and runs to the far corner. And then Hebner does it perfectly where he looks around and he looks to the wrong corner. And then while he's looking over the wrong shoulder, Randy Savage comes off the top rope. And remember, it's Hero Hebner. This is the ref that was protected Steamboat when Savage is using the bell on him, like on the throat, right?
Right.
So it's like Hebner couldn't, he couldn't do his job this time the way he did that time. He was gullible.
So what a great weaselly, cowardly, low down thing to do to attack the guy when he's been choked with a chain.
I know in the house show results I've seen up to this point, Steamboat and Savage are fighting a lot in the house shows. What I'm hoping is that sometime over the summer before Savage makes his twist is that, either a New York, a Boston, a Philly, or wherever, that we'll find a match, because that's what I want to watch is champion Steamboat defend against challenger Savage, because we've never, I've seen lots of matches between the two, but that's when Savage was the champ, basically, for the most part, right? So
indeed.
Yeah.
So that was a very exciting match, So I
just wanted to talk about the placement on the card, though, because I feel like this is a lessening of WrestleMania 3. The Intercontinental Championship gets to the highest of heights that it ever could possibly be. Anointed as the greatest match of all time, steals the show, workers' belt, all these things we talk about the Intercontinental Championship. It's such a high peak. And the way it was portrayed when Savage was the champ. But think back to when Tito was the champ and his one lone Saturday Night's Main Event title defense as champ. He was kind of an afterthought. Like they squished it in near, second last match of the card. Even though it was against Savage, they were kind of like it was kind of, and Tito didn't even get his entrance. And
no, exactly. Tito didn't get to talk, got no entrance.
Yeah,
no.
And so here I kind of feel like if they were, at this point, has Ricky already talked to them about leaving? Like, about taking time off? Like, are they already... Is the blue Morty off the rose here? Because you would think when you don't have a main event for this card that the title match maybe should have been opening the card instead of Jake and Kamala. Like, why is Jake and Kamala and not to say the Saturday Night's Main Event is 100% first match isn't always the main event, people. It depends. You got to look at the card and you got to figure it out. It's usually the first match, but sometimes it's the second or third. Kind of depends on where Hogan is usually. But because Hogan's not wrestling, that spot was open. And when you think of the matches, they're going to get 2 title matches, a lumberjack match, and then this sort of random encounter between Jake and Kamala, and then to see it listed that's kind of the secondary main event behind the non-aired main event that was Hogan-Andre / tag team match with Patera and Hercules. So it is disappointing to see the way they portrayed, the position of this match in this card. Even though the match itself was good, it was fun, it had a great story, it was building up to these continued feud between Macho Man and Steamboat. That's all awesome. But I just think it kind of felt like, wait a minute, this is sort of disrespectful to the belt and to the story that had been built through WrestleMania 3.
Those are all valid points, and I agree. The IC belt match should have had more viewers if you go by the idea that you're losing viewers every half-hour segment that goes by.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So, maybe they were just downplaying Ricky already. Because this is, we all know what happens next.
Yeah, it's only a month and a bit, and then bang. So
right, the next Saturday night's main event, Savage.
It's long gone. Yeah. He doesn't even. It's early summer when things fall apart for the Dragon. Okay, we have one more match that aired on TV, and we're going to that now. So the fifth match usually is reserved for a slot where maybe we have a match that's a bit lesser, something that's maybe not quite as good on the card, kind of almost a squash match in some cases. I wouldn't say this is it at all, but what this match is, it's like a different focus. The match isn't about the match. The match is about really promoting Duggan and making Duggan shine, and they just happen to have two good tag teams, and they thankfully it's like, hey, this is our introduction to the Can-Am Connection. Basically our goodbye to Sheik, in this form. He comes back way later, but this is, as far as I know, definitely his last Saturday Night's Main Event. So it's like, that's good that they're on the card, but they show their cards early, and that basically the whole point of the match is the fifth wrestler who's not on either team and what he cares about. So anyways,
he's not even on the card.
Exactly. And he's already been kicked out of the building because of the lumberjack match. If we remember, he was escorted from the building, so he's been kicked out. So there you go. So this whole section starts off with Mean Gene doing a ringside interview with Jim Duggan, who's now gone and bought a ticket after being kicked out. And it's like, there's only two problems with this story. One, how did he get a front row seat after the show had already started? And two,
there's some scalper in a dumpster. Yeah.
And secondly,
some commie scalper. It's out there.
I'm like, he's holding what amounts to a beer ticket for his ticket to get into the thing. If you look at it, he's holding one of those little printed, rip-off strip tickets.
Yeah.
That's his ticket to get that seat.
Ticket, the numbers. Really?
The box office couldn't print off a fake ticket for him? What is that?
I didn't investigate that closely.
It just stuck out. I thought it was really funny. So anyways, he's ringside. He's just promoting what he's there for, and he's not going to let Nikolai sing his song and just, saying all this patriotic stuff.
Well, we've heard that before.
Of course, yes. And Nikolai always finds a way around it. He's a skilled man.
Skilled singer.
So the Can-Am Connection come out first, massive cheers. Again, we talked about already, but no music, which is sort of striking, right? Because they know how powerful music is, and you're trying to push these babyface, good-looking guys, and it's just how much music would help you here. I'm not sure why they're not doing it, but yeah, they come out to no music, but a great pop. And then we come out with the pre-recorded heel interview. So they go and they transition into their entrance. So it's one of these inset. It starts off as an interview that fades into an inset. And of course, it's more about Slick talking for his guys. Unfortunately, we don't get her babies.
I know.
Sheik and Volkov just stand there, and it's just let them say one line each, 5 seconds. Come on.
I know. Because he talks for a while, and only Slick.
Exactly, and it's his shtick is good and everything, and he gets into this whole the political side of it. It's I will stand with my men to fight for the rights of the party. The Communist Party. It's just, loaded for 1987 for sure. So at this point, of course, they're in the ring because they came through while they were doing this promo. They were walking into the ring. They're in the ring, and they announce now that Volkov's going to sing his song, and of course the camera's framed where Duggan's not paying attention, but like a dog, his ears perk up like he hears something about what. So then he stands up and looks at the crowd should I do something? And of course times it to run in the ring as soon as Volkov gets off the first few beautiful notes of his song. So the heels scramble, but Duggan I think he swings too early, and all of a sudden he's oh, I'm really hitting Nikolai, because he basically, the only thing protecting Nikolai is the flag, and the flag's not doing a good job.
Yeah, it does appear to clip him right on the top.
A little bit more. They usually try to go for the wild swing where they kind of miss, but so violently swing that it's ooh, you really would have got him,
Yeah, obviously Volkov doesn't get knocked out. He plays it up, and it does look like kind of a botch because you just. However, this is part of the business. There will be occasions where you do take a bump or a scratch.
For sure.
Or a brick or a 2x4.
So Jesse, of course, has to, play his angle and says that, this man has every right, land of the free, he has every right to sing a song. So I love Jesse's takes on all this stuff. We get the Chirons. So Sheik and Volkov, we've seen them individually, but here it's like the crossed flags and there's like the boot and the sickle, and they have that's their Chiron. The Can-Am Connection is just their name, basically. It's pretty simple, but fun stuff. So anyways, they get into the match, and Martel jumps Volkov, and Volkov's the much larger man, so he's completely overpowered really immediately, and there's like a corner whip, and that leads to Martel using one of those he goes into the corner and throws himself into the air, and the charging Nikolai comes underneath.
I was wondering what the technical name for that move is.
There is. I guarantee you there's a specific name for it. I just haven't heard. I haven't seen anybody do it in a recent match, and I haven't heard it in so long that it's just evading me.
It is. It's very graceful, very athletic, but I mean, so Martel's got his back to Nikolai,
course,
but either they worked it out or he can hear him thundering towards him. Yeah. So he's got, his left and his right hand are holding the top rope, and then he jumps up, kind of like,
handstand almost, like a little bit to spring himself.
Or but it's kind of the way some kitchen garbage cans, you put your foot on the pedal and the lid opens up, because there's a hinge, right? So his hands are the hinge. Yeah. His feet go way up into the air in the sky, and absolutely Nikolai runs underneath Martel.
Yeah.
And then he when he comes back down, he does a full backwards somersault as well before he gets up and is a drop kick after that.
Beautiful drop kick, yeah.
Oh, and then he's hopping and clapping.
It is great. But the thing is, when Volkov comes in, you can't miss the like when he misses, of course, because he charges himself into the corner, eats the drop kick, gets up, eats another beautiful drop kick, and Rick Martel's like the wind up doll, because he's bouncing and happy and doing his whole shtick. It's pretty funny.
And he's got Rick Martel Jr. there he does the same kind of celebrating,
Yeah, exactly.
They're waving their arms, and so great opening spot.
Yeah, and then you get this weird, the high five non-tag between partners. Like he goes over after the second drop kick and gives like a big tag, but then just keeps wrestling.
Right. Yeah. You know what? I was caught up in the moment. I didn't think about the technical aspects of it.
So
Jesse, where's Jesse on that? Wait a minute. We got the illegal man here in the ring.
That's right. Yeah, Jesse didn't say too much about that one. So they, this bad editing, they show Duggan, and you hear the thundering, you hear the percussive noise of the ring. You know something's going on, but you can't see it. And basically, Sheik comes in after these drop kicks, and he's been tagged in, we assume. But when you come back, he's in the middle of going over top of a drop down, underneath a leapfrog, and then now you're really seeing it, and he's coming off the ropes, and it's the double hip toss, and it's a really high, like he's super high, like a super high rotation, like straight over back bump for Sheiky. So that's that's a pretty cool move, but you miss half of it because we were looking at Duggan for some reason. It was like
too much focus on Duggan in general, and in this particular case, nice move. We don't get a very good look at it.
Yeah,
but what we do get is Sheiky's suplex school.
Oh yeah, I've got him noted because there's he basically he leaves out my favorite. There's no belly to back. There's no real Sheiky suplex. But he does every other one, not every other one, but he does a popular list of suplexes in one match. So that is that's as much as they did afterthought of the match. It's great that the Can-Am Connection was like, yeah, fuck it, let's just go through the list of because it wasn't common for, in a match in 1987 always to see 5, 6, 7 moves like that in one match.
Yeah, for all his heel antics, the Iron Sheik had a lot of wrestling moves.
That's right. Yeah. He comes in. They don't really, I guess, probably earlier in his career, I believe, like pre-world title and around that time, they really pushed his scientific background. But by the time you get to the rock and wrestling, it's more just pushing the fact that he's cartoon character villain, basically.
Right.
They're more focused on that. And being an Olympic wrestler doesn't really, support that as much. So there's more awkward high fives after all this great Can-Am Connection action and stuff like that. But the heels, like we said, we got to set it up. We got to get to all these great slams. So the loaded boot finds Zink. He gets too excited. He tries to get an Irish whip on the Sheik. Gets a boot.
A thwarted back body drop.
That's right, of course. And that's where we're going to now see the beatdown is coming.
Yeah. Finally, a team I want to get beaten up by the Sheik and Volkov as opposed to my Bulldogs. God damn it, Anyway, good. Well, I mean, not entirely, but, because we're huge Rick Martel fans.
Of course, yeah. No, I think they were the Can-Am Connection felt like they were being pushed, that they were being positioned to be, something big. So like,
right. Well, more on that. Let's finish the match, and I'll give you my
cool. Okay,
thoughts on Can-Am Connection.
Yeah. Okay. So she grabs Zink into like Volkov's boot from the apron, and there's turnbuckle, and then she hits the side gut wrench suplex.
Yep.
So it looks really good. Sheik always had a good version of it. The other guys, had their own takes on it and probably did a little better, but Sheik's was good. And that's where Jesse says, "There isn't anybody who does suplexes better." And we get a variety of them in this match. It's like so great. Like like Jeff said, it's just everything's coming up. So now we get a vertical suplex for another cover attempt. Then Volkov's in with his punches and kicks and stuff like that. And he's just screeching as he stomps.
Beppo the Mongolian.
Yeah.
Mongol.
He tags back in the Sheik, and now we get the belly-to-belly suplex.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All this clean, scientific, great moves.
It's another 2 count. Now we get the abdominal stretch, and Jesse, because Gorilla Monsoon's not there, Jesse's got to come in with the tagline that like the calf's not hooked, and that's why
And Sheiky's got the perfect footwear for like
exactly.
the unbreakable abdominal stretch, right? When that foot is hooked in, it's really hooked in. But no, guess what happens?
Whereas we get a hip toss with
and also he lets go.
He does.
He's tired, and then he's just like, all right, let's do this or something.
He kind of positions his leg so he's easier to hip toss.
He unclasps his hands, which is invitation for that hip toss.
Yeah. So, but it's not enough to get Zink like all the way out of trouble. And Sheik is from there gets a clothesline and just a great clothesline. Like it just looks devastating. It's really good. Some of Sheik's clotheslines don't look anywhere near this good. It's not something he hit consistently well, but this one is just beautiful. And especially I think the camera angle was awesome. And then of course we get the follow up the spit.
He's a
So here we go. Here's where Zink is tossed outside in front of Duggan. He's tossed out of the ring right in front of Duggan, and immediately Volkov's over stomping on him. And again, the editing's bad here. They're showing Duggan being upset, but all of a sudden we cut back to the ring, and Martel is somehow getting beaten up by the Sheik in the ring. Like he was totally healthy on the apron. He's never been touched, and all of a sudden he's getting beaten up, and he gets tossed out. We don't even see him take any blows, and he's getting tossed out of the ring,
and he's out.
And then he's just like on the ground, beaten up, like he's been like heart attacked. It was like, what the hell? Like
that was not so good.
Did the Sheik have a billy club when we weren't looking and clubbed him over the head? Like
I agree. I didn't like that. I was like that. Too much Duggan build.
Yeah, because it's all going to be about Duggan here. So Duggan's like basically over the barricade at this point, trying to get at Volkov, and Nikolai actually takes a big swing at him,
leaning over the barricade,
almost over. That's why I said almost. Yeah, he's tilted. He's almost over the barricade because he's reaching so far.
Go on. Go on, carry on.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's about to go over the barricade.
Of course, yeah. So Nikolai takes this big swipe at him, doesn't really connect very well, and that's when Duggan decides once again to clear the barricade. And for a man who's already been ejected this evening, it's like, where's the security? There's nobody in his way. He just gets in.
I think the fix is in.
He's right. He just charges into the rings. There's another WrestleMania 3 moment here of Duggan just like, I'm here to help you, and I'm going to get you in trouble.
What happened? Remind me of WrestleMania 3 and Duggan?
He gets the Beast disqualified like right away. It's like, it's like the match doesn't even happen. Like Duggan's
obviously
in
these commies.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. They get a nice late spot on the card. They're one of the last 3-4 matches.
Really?
They're right in at the end.
Wow.
Yeah.
We didn't review WrestleMania 3, so I watched the OSW WrestleMania 3 review, but I was like just chewing them up and spitting them out at that point. Well, I mean, I was enjoying them, but nothing, but a lot of things didn't stick with me.
Right, of course, yeah.
There's so many matches that I forgot. I was like, really? That was on the card? That was on the card? Wow.
So anyway, Duggan charges into the ring, and in this chaos, Martel rolls up the Sheik from behind into a 3 count. And it's like, Jesse's like super awesome. I got to plug it. I'll plug it in here too. But he's just like, he's so outraged. And then he's like, and he's been complaining all night about Joey Morella. And this is because Joey's the ref. And he's allowing this to take place. And he's like, Joey Morella. Like he's so indignant.
Yep. The source of all the problems in the WWF.
So how can the ref count when an illegal wrestler's in the ring with a board? Weird. Why is he doing a 3 count when there's like a 5th person with an object? Like what is
supervising,
So
just doing some renos, we're building a new level here in the ring.
But this part I actually kind of like the ending here a little bit. So the heels, they jump Duggan, and he totally deserves it.
But he did a really dumb to get. Yes, however, in order for that to happen, your winning heroes, uninjured particularly, are celebrating on the ground.
Yes, right.
In their not even standing, cheering like one. I think one of them is still hurt. Right,
Zink or whatever.
Zink is still hurt. So Martel just goes out there to comfort him.
Yeah,
and the crowd, the audience can't even see the Can-Am connection.
Exactly. Yeah,
and so Duggan gets into the ring. And he's looking down. down, and it takes them about 10 seconds, which is like a
Yeah.
year, and that's sort of why. And eventually the heels, but it was awkward timing.
So, anyways, once they get in, I love it because Sheik and Volkov come in. They attack him from behind a little bit. They got him in the corner. They're beating him, and then Slick comes in and he starts going to work.
Yeah.
Slick's like, I think Slick gets a bit of the rip on the shirt on him.
Yeah.
And Slick's punching him several times. Slick wasn't ever that physical, so it was really fun to watch him punch.
When you mess a guy's shirt up, he looks beat up.
That's
It doesn't
right.
matter. All you got to do is tear up his shirt.
Yeah.
And he looks like you really got him. So they're tearing up Duggan's shirt.
That's right.
And they toss him out.
Yeah, so and Duggan basically falls through the ropes as he's getting beaten up. So he falls down.
And Sheiky gets his triumphant swan song.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Cheering. And woo.
Yeah.
I
He's
mean,
posing.
jeering.
He's in the ring. He's in the ring posing it up. Yeah, it's pretty great. So Duggan gets up and collects himself and his board and the Can-Am connection.
And they recover.
And the heels charge back into the ring and chase off the bad guys.
Faces. You said heels.
Yeah. So
We knew you meant. We knew
the
you
faces get in and chase off the heels, exactly. And that's the way. That's the
Yeah.
way they go out.
Yeah, well, I, had some laughs, and I'm glad that Sheiky got to look so good in his last match because he did.
Volkov only got a couple punches and kicks and stomps in. He didn't really do any of his moves, or it's kind of weird.
Because we know that Sheiky Baby, he's doing the job for people. He gave Piper 3 count.
Yeah.
He knows where he's at the company right now, and. That's why we were sort of surprised to see him kick so much bulldog ass with Volkov. Because
right.
on the main event, Sheik was clear that he wasn't going to get the world title back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I like the fact that he remained this Olympic suplex machine right to the end, and he looked great in this match. Also, but let's talk about the Can-Am.
Yeah.
So. You had told me that Rick Martel was very kind and, he wouldn't call people out and shoot interviews.
I watched, so I have one long, 2.5 hour shoot interview to go by.
Right.
And in that one, basically, I would say for the most part, he was really always defaulted to being nice about people. The only thing, and he wasn't super over the top angry or anything like that, but the only person he did allow himself to sort of complain about was Zink.
Yeah. Well, I heard, an interview. I wonder if it was the same one, but he wasn't really holding back, particularly.
Yeah.
This fucking asshole, he was letting Zink have it.
Yeah.
And so the story is that, among other things, the WWF at one point enacted a dress code, and Tom Zink couldn't be bothered. So, basically Rick Martel's like, what are you doing, man? I've done a lot of things for you. We get Vince had a policy of paying tag teams the same,
Yeah.
And Rick Martel had been stung by talking about pay in his earlier career. So he said, well, maybe it's my fault, because I wouldn't talk about what I was getting paid. I would only say if I was happy, but all the boys, if they knew what people were getting paid, they'd rib. And, sow discord, the Bulldogs and Mr. Perfect, are part of how Nails went after McMahon is because people were saying Boss Man's getting so much more than you. And so Martel wouldn't tell Zink what he was making, but as far as we know, it was the same. Anyway, Zink's attitude sucked. And he basically, started causing trouble. And Rick was like, come on, man, there's a big push for us. We're going to get the belts. There's going to be merchandising. And the road is paved in gold. Tom Zink basically, he just, after he got a dressing down from Martel, what are you doing? Tom was like, fuck it, I'm out of here. And so Martel was left picking up the pieces. Of course, it's good news for us because it gave Tito one last, moment in the sun.
Yeah, he's got a couple afterwards too, but your point well taken. This is before any real damage has been done to Tito.
Yeah. Right. He has a terrible record at WrestleMania.
Of course, yes.
However, that doesn't tell the whole story because he's still a main eventer, during WrestleMania. He's a main eventer,
Yeah, coming out of WrestleMania 1, him and Valentine sellout headline.
That's right.
Tour, Hogan was off headlining somewhere else.
So I don't have any sympathy now for Tom Zink, whatever. At least his wrestling career, he made his choices and didn't particularly show a lot of gratitude to Rick Martel.
I think there's a lot more people out there sort of concurring with the assessment of the way Zink handled his business, and that's why his career went the way it did.
Yeah. So I was excited at the time for the Can-Am connection, but we got to keep the best parts of it. And, he moved on to, Strike Force, and that's okay with me.
Yep.
You gotta be kidding me they're going to allow that? They're allowing Jim Duggan to come into the ring with a 2x4, and Joey Marella, there he is, Joey Marella, that same referee again, and he's going to give the win to the Can-Am Connection. This is an atrocity.
Okay, they just come back after the usual wrap-up stuff. You know, they go to commercial, they come back, go to commercial, and we get the McMahon, and I love it. Jesse's flexing a lot in this going, you know, as they go home, and I can't remember. They talk about a few things. I think Jesse gets in another barb about the non-title transfer because of the DQ. McMahon, I think, you know, says they're going to win it. So they're going to win it sometime in the future. He proclaims.
Oh, promises were made.
Too bad he didn't follow through with that.
No, I always wanted another title reign for the Bulldogs. McMahon, that's particularly bitter for. He's the guy that didn't make it happen for him to say that. Oh,
yeah. All right, that leaves one match left on the card.
Right. So Hogan and Ken Patera defeated Andre and Hercules, but we don't know how that happened. We're pretty sure that everybody here wrestled everybody else. I don't know when Hercules would have wrestled Andre. Maybe not. That's the one exception. Otherwise, every wrestler is squared off against every other wrestler.
Yeah.
I got some spots that I want to, basically I'm going to imagine that I was the booker. And I'm like, okay, guys, here's what you got to do. Now, Hogan's going to store his ego for the night. And maybe, you know, that's why it's not on TV. Hogan, right. You know, this is, you had your pinfall over Andre. Like the biggest thing ever, you know, did the job for you at WrestleMania. Yeah. So tonight's not your night, Terry. Now, so Hogan, who knows how he reacts to that? But anyway, among the spots that I want to see, and you know, there's a lot of factors that we got to put on the table. You know, things that we know that are off the table. So Hogan's not going to get a clean 1, 2, 3 because you know he's probably got that in his contract or something. Like I'm not you know taking the clean loss. Or if he had any creative control, that's that's what I'm not doing. You know. Yeah. We know that. Shortly, Andre will win the title from Hogan. Tainted as it is, the twin brother Hebner referee scandal, that's in the cards in the future. Right. Yeah. We want Andre to look scary and dominant. I mean, he's just been dispatched at WrestleMania 3, so he's got to look like he's still as deadly as they come. Like, there is no bigger threat than Andre the Giant.
Yeah, it was a fluke.
Hogan fended him off the one time, but it was a fluke because Andre will get the belt from Hogan, even if there was some cheating. So we don't start with Hogan Andre. I think you got to build that tension. Yeah. I guess you have Hogan all, you know, blisteringly hot to get Andre in the ring. Yeah, yeah. And then Andre's just like cool as a bowl of punch. Yeah, he's on the apron.
Wave him off.
Staring at him. Well, no reaction. Won't get in the ring. Takes his time. Now, this isn't the same aggressive, mean heel Andre from, you know, Japan from 1980 because he was like, would have been in there like beating up Hogan before the bell. But like this heel he's a heel Andre, but not that like scary Andre. I've never seen it. It was really fun. So, you know, you have Patera will probably, you know, calm Hogan down and get him out of the ring and start the match.
That's right.
But the spot that I want to see, it'll be Hogan gave to Patera in a match that we alluded to, if not covered, the favor of, okay, you win the collar and elbows. Yeah. Hogan is going to be like, all right, you're the stronger man. So I want Hogan to do for Hercules what he did for Patera. In other words, Hercules is going to push Hogan into the corners like Patera did.
Yeah.
And so let's say maybe Hogan starts with Hercules. Yeah. And he does the spot where Hercules throws Hogan back into the corner and Hogan's, you know, shocked. Shocked. Goes in again, and Hercules repeats and then Hogan just like looks at the crowd and kind of thinks, all right, we got to try something different, you know? Yeah. Because it's exactly what Hogan did for Patera.
That's right, yeah.
Before Patera went to jail. Now, what I want is when we get Patera in there,
yeah.
Patera does that to Hercules.
That's
they
right.
Call her when he throws Hercules in, and he's shocked. Like, what? In other words, Hogan's the third strongest guy. You know,
and we haven't even mentioned Andre.
Exactly, right? So it's not
he's the weakling.
Exactly. So Hogan's not going to like that. And we'll say, don't worry, you haven't hulked up.
Yeah, that's right.
Hulk will be the strongest of all when you hulk up. Right?
Yeah,
then
when he puts the proverbial spinach in his mouth. And,
that's right, the hoof face. And so that's going to come later from a full Nelson. Then we'll see Hulk is the strongest of all.
That's right.
But right now, he's the weakling.
He's the weakling.
Okay? So that's the spot I wanted, like these collar and elbows and these throws. Now, Hercules can set a pace that Andre, may have never had. But I mean, we didn't really see a lot of, dropkick Andre.
Yeah, I got to see touches.
Yeah, not so much. Anyway, we'll be looking at a Patera versus Hercules match where Hercules is so fast.
Yeah.
He is lightning quick with his offense, and he can just go hard and fast.
Yeah.
And so I want to see some of that real fast Hercules and Patera selling, for Hercules.
Right.
But in true traditional storytelling narrative form, Patera will ultimately prevail because he's our hero. He's our babyface. So he's going to get the advantage over Hercules. He is the stronger man, as we got over in that bit. Hercules will use typical heel tactics like eye rakes to, take the momentum away from Patera. But eventually we want Hercules to, before Hogan and Andre can mix it up, Andre and Patera got to mix it up.
That's right.
To build it, right.
Yeah.
So eventually, instead of raking AI to take the advantage, Hercules will just bail out.
Yeah.
When Andre and Patera in there, we can borrow spots from some of the matches we've seen, which is like, say, Patera will maybe try to stick an arm in and see if he can, move Andre around, but Andre just grabs the arm, and now Patera is like, when he's trying to, I don't know what he thought he was doing, trying to hip toss, Andre, but at one point he kind of, puts his arm under Andre's armpit, and then his arm's stuck. It's like, you did it to yourself. Like, what? Anyway, and then that was like how Andre would control Patera. So,
that's right.
Now Andre's owed some respect tonight.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get beat up by Patera.
Yeah.
He's going to be basically, immovable. And so Patera got to be stronger than Hogan.
Yeah.
But he's not stronger than Andre.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so he's like struggling to Andre is going to basically dominate him by not getting off his feet, and like Patera's, clubs and whatnot will they won't have a huge effect.
Not look like they have much effect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I expect we're going to get like Andre at one point will do the handful of hair headbutt from behind to Patera to really stagger him. Now, Patera's going to get Andre in the ring. This is how usually Patera gets the advantage.
Right.
Patera will be recovering in a corner, and Andre will charge with his shoulder, and then Patera ducks.
Yeah.
And this was like Andre will take a knee. And then, Patera can turn around and start laying in elbows to the back of Andre's neck and head. In this case, Patera will get out.
Yeah.
And Andre's own hasn't been hurt by Patera yet. So he turns around and he's still fresh. He's only been toying with Patera, sort of like, and so Patera's got to basically swallow a bit of pride, to make Andre look so badass in this match.
Yeah.
And that's how we get finally, Patera has been toyed with and thrown around, headbutted, and then he just gets out of ducks to tag in Hogan, and now we have WrestleMania III once again. Hogan gets in, and just like, the hair stands on the end as Andre turns around because he's like rubbing his shoulder as like Patera's crawling, and he'll just take his time to turn around and face Hogan, and then the chills will go up everybody's spine as there's a stare down again. It's not 93,000, but who cares?
That's right.
Like, we get to relive like arguably the most hyped up and exciting moment of professional wrestling. So weigh in. What do we use your imagination?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that, like you said, you got to protect Andre a bit, so you shouldn't really be leaving his feet much at all this match. And with Patera, I didn't actually watch the Patera Hercules match. I haven't seen the spots that are in it. And I would say that Patera's changed his moveset a little bit from when, back in the 84, 83 and all that stuff earlier. So it's hard to know what he's going to throw in there. But of course, I think you have to get, like, I even like the idea of Hogan kind of coming into a bit of an advantage. Like you said, like Andre's already a little bit stunned, and it kind of excuses the fact that maybe Hogan gets a minute or two of offense on him or something like that. I think you eventually have to get Hercules back in to be like, to be the, take the spots.
For sure.
He's got to take the bumps.
Right, no, Hercules will come back in because I wanted that full Nelson Hulk up.
Yeah.
Break the full Nelson.
Yeah.
So that's coming later.
Yeah.
So right now, I guess we have Andre beat up on Hogan for a while.
Yeah, or you, like I said, if you let Hogan come in when Andre's stunned, Hogan can actually do a couple of spots, which would give Andre an excuse to tag back out. And like I said, let Hercules be the guy to like do most of the bumps, but also like once they get the
right. I think that's okay.
I like Andre interfering from the outside, like how sometimes if you get too close to Andre's corner, he can just like swallow you from the apron.
Well, in that case, then Hercules will interfere. Will distract Hulk. Hulk gets a few punches in. Andre needs to beat up on Hogan for a bit before. I mean, like I don't want Hogan coming in and schooling Andre right away. I want sort of like Andre hasn't really been hurt. He's just, because like that dramatic moment I described and, so you get the clash and sure, Hogan he'll take some excitement and the crowd wants to see it. So he'll, get some huge pops and land some big right hands. Within a half a minute though, maybe Hercules has got a swat at him.
Yeah.
And then Andre can, beat up on Hogan for a while.
A little choky headbutt.
Yeah. Choking and headbutting and
slapping.
Yeah. But I would like to see, because I think this would be exciting, at some point we should get somebody executes kind of a finisher, but there's a ref bump. So they get the credit of like, you had him down, you had him for the 3 count, but the ref was out of there. We could have Andre can do that to Patera with his sort of sumo his earthquake chest squash that he pinned him with in Japan.
I don't know if he could pull that move off anymore at this point in his career, but it wasn't that long ago he was doing it.
Yeah. And he could look around for the 3 count, and Patera's not kicking out, right?
Yeah.
So Patera's putting over Andre, as he should. I mean, even though Patera's on the way up right now with all the push, this is Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
So that is, that would be another way to build Andre, to give him that, like, where's the ref? I win the match over Patera.
Yeah.
Among the, I guess, I don't know if you call that a false finish, but anyway, so that should be one of the spots, I think.
Guess he was still doing the elbow drop, so yeah, he could probably pull off a clumsy sit down.
Right. Well,
he doesn't squash Patera for real.
I did hunt down how Andre beats Bill Eadie.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, just simple elbow drop from Andre.
Yeah.
That's a finish.
That's a finisher.
And they win the belt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They call themselves a Colossal Connection.
That's right, 1989. Okay. Boom.
Yeah. So I only watched it within the last, whatever it was, year or two ago, because I was interested in. Yeah. So you remember that conversation. So if not his earthquake, then just an L. But I to protect Patera, I would like the earthquake, because it looks really, when Andre sits on your chest, crunch. But that's not necessarily the finish, just to show how deadly Andre is, So Patera could escape that. Also, let's have fun. This is like not airing on TV. We don't have to protect anybody. This is, we haven't actually engaged in this mental exercise before. So let's make more fun spots. So what else could we do? And so we want Hulk in a full Nelson and like the arm down dangle, arm down, second arm dangle.
It must be cool too if before they got to the full Nelson, they maybe did like a bear hug spot with like Hogan, where they like passed him off. Like Hercules has got him in a bear hug, and he tags an Andre, and Andre takes over the bear hug.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And then he tags Hercules back in and sets him up for the full Nelson. Basically like like it's a double team to get him to the full Nelson.
Yeah, they like squeeze him down to to put that full Nelson in. I love it. Okay, that's good. Now, what about the actual finish? Now, I would have I was thinking for fun. I know it says that the faces win on the card. So I guess, but I was hoping that they would lose. I want them to lose.
Well, that could be option 2 fantasy, but I mean, I think the way to get out of this match, just sticking with the way it's booked at first, would be just a pretty simple, we've started to set up and tease maybe these double team moves. We figure out a way in the match to have Hercules and Andre kind of do the same thing, 2 times in a row, where Hercules is holding somebody, Andre clobbers him, and then on the third one, when you get to the finish here, you probably have to have a hot tag before all this happens anyways, but it would almost be how, the hot tag comes in, it looks like we're going home, and then the bad guys get one moment of back in there. As soon as they take control again, that's when they go for the 3-time double team, and you have Andre clobber Hercules, because whichever, Hercules has got Hogan in the full Nelson, like you're talking about, and behind the ref's back, Andre's trying to give the big clobber, and Hogan breaks out and moves, and Andre clocks Hercules. Patera's in to take care of Andre or whatever, or to pin Hercules, and Hogan takes care of Andre, whichever way.
The old heel on heel crime.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
right. Yeah, right. That's the old backfire. I like it. Okay. Yeah. So, right. Yeah, very good. Okay, how about the chain? We'll throw the chain in there, maybe? Like, so Hercules he's holding Hogan, and then Andre's got the chain.
Yeah.
And he's gonna
he chains Hercules.
Yes.
He chain punches Hercules.
Yeah. Oh wow. And then Hogan pins Hercules as Patera runs interference.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
Fun.
There you go. And I think in the order of the night they did it, that match actually took place before, like, that's the match, and then the next match is the Stardust Iron's main event.
Yeah. Well, I would love to track that. Wouldn't that be? That's the lost match, you know?
Yeah.
Especially with all like, why did they deprive us of? It was so exciting. Hogan versus Andre. I think
they were smart. I think they wanted to save Andre.
So.
They wanted to build up. They wanted to make it seem so special because on TV it seemed like a long time between WrestleMania 3 and the next time they actually fought.
Yeah, which is why I think I would have liked to have seen the actual match, but maybe it was a bad match. And, maybe, who knows why they, maybe they just, but then probably not, because they did all that commentary as though it wasn't even on the card.
Yeah.
So I guess they had to know that they weren't airing it as they were talking about the other matches and shooting the show.
Yeah. All right. It's 1987, and we've got a lot left to go with WWF. There's so much coming up. So one thing we'll ask people is, like, if there's stuff coming up in the next, few months of 87, and you can think of something, especially if it's like a tiny bit obscure but really awesome, or like, drop us a line, send us like a note kind of thing, because sometimes it's funny how we go looking for certain things, and we find other things that we had no idea were even relevant or important. And so, yeah. Legendary Wrestling Obsession at gmail.com. Send us, those tips, those pointers as far as like other stuff we can add in, because it's great to find like some of the best stuff is stuff that doesn't get played over and over again. It just somehow slips through the cracks, but it's either super funny or just like, or it's actually relevant. Like,
well, I had never imagined half of the things that we've covered on this show ever occurred, and it was fun. I mean, just these little hidden gems like that tag team tournament. And I mean, Primetime, what a show. There's at least you've got it almost like in a way, there are no jobber matches on Primetime, it feels like, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there are some lesser thans. You get your, like, CV Offie versus Steve Lombardi or something like that, where it's like, okay, that's not, that's kind of getting into the regular, that looks like some kind of match on, Superstars or whatever. But for the most part, like, if there's 6 matches, 4 of them are usually what you would call big names at the time.
Yeah, so it feels like a $25 meal instead of a cheap $9 lunch.
That's right. All right, we're gonna wrap this episode for this week, and next week we're coming back. So we didn't want to just jump straight to October of '87 and miss all the summer, and spring goodness. Couldn't do it. So next show is just gonna basically be a 1987 May-June show, just looking at the top stuff happening there. I think we're going to see a lot of like debuting wrestlers. We're going to see, some important stuff happening. There's going to be some good matches. We're kind of working our way to the second half of the summer, where I think we're going to land somewhere where it's almost like one of those unknown supercards that happened. And I've got one lined up, and if I can find a better one, then we'll switch to that, and we'll do that instead. And that'll give us, a good handle on all the stuff going on in the summer for '87, because it's so big, and don't want to just jump to October and skip over all this good stuff. So that's what's going to be next week, May, June, 1987.
Yes, and a special loophole time travel in that May, June. Back to 86!
That's right. Sometimes they record stuff in one year and they play it in another. So it's played in 87, even though it happened in 86. But it's so juicy, we gotta go back. Okay, we're gonna see you next week. Take care.